Welcome to episode 26 of the Been There, Done That podcast with Philipa Seth. Thank you for joining me.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
And I am actually really excited to get this one out of the way because you're one of the first people I messaged way back when I first started, probably like April or
it's definitely been in the works for a while.
Yes, and you are very, very busy, and I thank you very much because this is your only day off in the week, or the only evening off. I should say, probably not the day, but the only afternoon off. So thank you very much for joining me.
No worries.
And taking the time to come on the podcast. And yeah, I'm super excited because obviously I've known you for quite a while, being at East Freo and playing down at Fremantle. So thank you for coming on the podcast. Usually I start the podcast with a little message that I found in a book that I found interesting. But this weekend, I actually got stuck into learning about cryptocurrency. So I wasn't able to get much reading done. So I'm sorry for all those who like to listen to those little stories that I've been doing the last couple of weeks. Unless you want to hear something about crypto.
What even is crypto? Give us
cryptocurrency.
Like a 1 or 2 minute description, please.
I don't know. I still don't know. I'm still learning. I'm still learning on YouTube. It's all about NFTs. Non-fungible tokens. You ever heard of those before?
Oh,
essentially the little pictures that come up on like your screen and you can purchase them via like Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. But cryptocurrencies is like instant via the cloud universe type
digital world.
Digital world. So it's all about that. And I can tell you from experience, it's very volatile. It changes very quickly. And the whole idea of it is not to get scared.
Okay, so it's a risky business.
It's risky, very risky, unless you want to sit down and spend a lot of time of your day working the markets, then probably not for you. But I don't do that either. I just kind of look and see, try to test the field. And Bitcoin is the big mover. So whatever they do, the rest of the market does.
Yeah.
So the last couple of days, Bitcoin has gone down a couple of percent and then everything else just drops. But usually if it's stable, they call it altcoins. So you got two big ones like Bitcoin and I can't remember the other one now.
Well, I've already learned something new, so that's good.
Ethereum, there you go. Ethereum's they're the big two. And then the altcoins is everything else underneath that. So like, when you do your bank transfers and it's called Osco payments, have you seen that come up before in your bank?
Yeah,
statements?
I think so.
Yeah. And that's like, and you can pay someone like instantly. That's all done via crypto. So the banks use crypto to get their money across. So while you wire your money to the bank, they can chip off some crypto.
They can do it quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
There you go.
So yes.
It's a dangerous world we live in.
So yeah, a podcast about sport and performance has gone into cryptocurrency. So tell me, how did you get started? Take us all the way back to when you're a little young toddler, I presume, picking up a ball sport of some variety?
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 3, so I always tried to keep up with my older brother and older sister, so that's probably where it all started. My brother was quite good at basketball, so originally that was the first go-to, which is actually where I initially met Gabby O'Sullivan. We played under 10 basketball together at Perth Redbacks, so we were both tiny back then. She has a lot more successful basketball career than I do. So after basketball, I made the switch to touch rugby. Once I realized I wasn't going to be better than my brother at basketball, I tried to beat my sister at touch rugby, basically.
So it was competitive right from the beginning.
Absolutely. Being the youngest, I think that quality just comes naturally.
So how old were you when you shifted from basketball to touch?
That's probably continued to play basketball until maybe under 12s or under 14s.
Oh, so you're doing both.
Yeah, and then made the switch over to predominantly touch. And then basically from there was doing touch and footy for a little while. And that's when I first started footy. I was really lucky. My high school teacher was actually the state under 15s girls coach. Oh. So I can say that he got me into footy as well. And from there, kind of caught the bug and just think footy's unlike any other team sports there is out there. And it got me hooked.
And also you have a pretty unique one as well. I don't think I've had anyone sit here who's been in touch rugby. I think Kelly Gibson had a bit of rugby sevens, but touch rugby, quite a bit of evasive type of sport.
Definitely. I used to always say that I used to get way fitter for touch rugby season than I ever did for footy season, just because of the repeat sprint efforts, running forwards, backwards and side to side.
And that's coming from someone who's already extremely fit. I probably should have gone through the text message you sent me. I know the screenshots of your Strava running and your times, mate, well and truly puts me to shame.
I don't mind a little bit of running. I think everyone needs to like stick to their strengths, and so for me it's always been running, so that's something I'm always going to continue to work on, to thrive on, to improve my game even further.
What's your longest run you've done?
16 Ks.
And time?
Oh, that was a long time ago. I can't remember. Now I restrict myself to a 10K limit.
I have to put a limit on myself for running.
Yeah,
I never hear those words come out of my mouth.
Well, only if you start training endurance. I just realised I was losing a lot of my speed.
Yep.
So that's
Sure.
our main go-to is a 2K time trial. And I went through a pre-season or off-season really trying to test distance, and it was actually making my 2K time trial worse.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's intensity.
Exactly. So it's a different type of training, different energy systems, all the rest. So I had to kind of limit that and say that can be a post-footy adventure. And while we're still kind of riding this wave that is women's footy, I'll stick to the short stuff.
That's funny though, because you see a lot of footy players who, once they do finish footy, they go just run. They're like, Kane Corns, he does all those marathon runs. Even a few other guys that I know, they just run. Forget about sprints, forget about anything else, just go for 10K runs.
I think it's quite an individual sport, and it's unlike anything else where you almost get better at it as you get older. If you look at the average marathon runner, they're aged in their 40s. So it really is a sport that you can do after your peak sporting career.
And it's all about adaptation as well. Like your knees cop it a fair bit, but then just building up. David Goggins, heard of him?
Yeah.
How he does all those crazy runs and he does just real gnarly stuff. He had surgery on his knees or something about his knees he had to have surgery on. And the surgeon said that when he went to cut his meniscus, he said it was like leather. Like it was just like so pounded.
Yeah, well, I guess it's a high impact sport, which is now the research is coming out behind like how much strength base you need, because the stronger you are, the more you can offload your joints. And so the importance of strength training, even in endurance runners, is so important and often is an element that's perhaps missed.
Very much so. Going back, where were we? Touch rugby, going to the football season. So when did football really take off for you?
So I can say that I've been playing footy for a while. I think I joined at East Freo when I was like 15 or maybe even 14 years old. So yeah, I've been playing there like 11, 12 years now.
Goodness. So who got you in? So how did you get into sport, like into the footy club? Who got you, introduced you?
So back a long time ago, when I was playing state under 15s, I played in a team with Tia Haynes and Alex Williams.
Yep.
And they said, hey, let's go down to East Freo. So I just kind of jumped on that bandwagon. I'm pretty sure they took me to my first training session because I wasn't old enough to drive. And they could, I think. So they took me to my first training back at many, many years ago.
That's awesome. And then, so you obviously started in the youthies.
There wasn't even a youthies comp back then.
Just one whole?
So it was just reserves and league.
Right.
Yeah, way before youth girls' time.
So how were you in? 15?
Yeah, 15, 16, playing in the open category.
Yeah, so was it reserves you started with? And then when did you first play your league game?
My first league game, I think, was a couple of years in. It was actually against Southern River, who don't even have a team anymore. And I remember Mel Caulfield used to play for Southern River.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's a big name.
And I think Turbo used to play for Southern River as well before they folded.
Another big name.
There you go.
Wow. So what's it like? Like, you've played, you were so young. Were they big names then as well? Or was it just...
I think they've always had it. They've always just had such skill, such grace. They've always just at the top of their game.
Did you feel like playing against them, like, there was a bit of extra pressure, or like, did you feel nervous playing against girls like that? Not really.
I think you kind of like you knew of them, but it probably footy didn't have as much traction as it does now. There's not as big a following. I always describe it as like I was playing footy before footy was cool.
Yeah, but you were cool. You started it.
I guess, yeah.
You're one of the pioneers.
Oh, I guess so. Again,
would you classify yourself as a pioneer or not?
Oh, probably not, because I wasn't in any of the original AFLW seasons, so I only got recruited come season 3.
Ah.
So
you got to know that.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, I
So
sat on
season
the
3.
sidelines
So
for a while.
how old were you when you drafted?
I was 24 when I got drafted.
Did you have a breakout year the year before, or was it just consistent kind of efforts, years, seasons?
So obviously I've been in footy for a while, and for a while there I was also focusing on completing my uni degree. Right. I had foot surgery the couple of years beforehand. So I had foot surgery in 2015, which was the first AFLW year. To be honest, probably wasn't up to scratch then anyway. And I think it just took a while for me to actually sit down and say, hang on, this is an opportunity that I could actually follow. And so I decided to dig my heels in, work a little bit harder, and get the selectors' attention.
Right. So when you were along that first season of AFLW, was there any representative state under 18, I don't know what they do, state under 18
competitions,
games against other states?
Yeah. So again, I was too old for state under 18s, but that's when they actually had a few state under 23s.
Okay. Yeah. And you played in those?
So I was able to play right next to Evie Gooch as well. So me and Evie played in the state under 23s before getting picked up.
Yeah. Okay. So it was those. You played 2. How many years did you do that? Though you were representative?
I think they only did it for 1 year. Gucci got picked up after that year, and I had to wait another year and then got picked up after that.
And you said you had foot surgery. What did you do to your foot?
Yeah, so I had a Liz Frank injury. They call it a Liz Frank because that's the guy who essentially discovered it. Often happens in horse riding or in snowboarding when you've got your foot fixed and then your body moves around your foot.
Yeah, right.
So what I did at footy training.
Yeah.
And someone stood on my foot and then someone else tackled me. So my foot got pinned to the ground while I got tackled by someone else.
Yeah, right. So what structural damage was there?
So it's a ligament.
So it's the ligament in your foot. That's what it's called.
So the easiest way to describe it is it's a ligament that holds the small bones in your foot together.
Oh.
And so what
all
happens,
of them?
A few of them, like 3 or 4.
Oh, okay. And that's what it's called.
Yeah. And so then by tearing that, every time I was putting weight down, my bones were gradually splitting further and further apart. It was really odd. It wasn't something that I probably noticed straight away. And I think it just I was probably playing with it for 4 or 5 months before I realized that it was actually
so there was no pain or anything?
It was more pain afterwards. So I remember just aching at night. It was extreme pain at night that I was needing Nurofen and Panadol to sleep every night. And I was like, okay, something's not right, but I could still run. So
really?
Yeah.
So why could you run and not feel pain, and then when you stopped it was all this pain?
Yeah, I don't know. Weird. Yeah. And I think everyone presents differently. So when I was telling that story to the specialist, he was like, that is abnormal. That doesn't make sense. Normally people feel it when they're running, but I could only really feel it afterwards.
Do you think you have a high pain tolerance? And then when you just started the running or anything like that, you were just able to get in the zone?
I reckon that's probably something that people throw out all the time, a high pain tolerance. I don't know.
That's a thing though.
Probably, yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if there's a test for that.
Do you consider yourself to be of a high pain tolerance to other things?
I can be a bit of a sook as well, so maybe I shouldn't go out and say yes, because otherwise I'll get a lot of backlash being like, no, you complain all the time. So no, we'll just say blanket rule no.
Right, so you had to have surgery on that?
Yes.
So how do they have to sew it back up? Is that what they do?
So I had a plate and 4 screws.
Yeah, it's obviously cover, yeah. And that's still in there?
No, so they put that in. So they rip, the scar kind of just goes up near my shoelaces.
Wow, so you have a scar?
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah.
Gnarly.
Yeah, and then they put a plate, 4 screws that stayed in for 8 months, and then they take it out.
Damn, that makes me feel sick. Thinking about cutting the knife down the thing.
Yeah, it was
I'm a wuss.
Not very pleasant, and I spent a very long time in a
That would hurt too because it's so thin.
Yeah.
Right, that skin, and there's not much fat or anything there.
No, so the skin actually, I needed to work really hard on trying to get the scar tissue broken down because it's my kicking foot as well. Oh, so it was literally right where I kick a footy.
Wow. And you were still kicking the football when you had that injury?
Yes.
And you're kicking right on the bones that would have been separating?
Yes.
And you felt no pain?
Oh, it was probably a little bit uncomfortable.
Out of 10?
Like a 3.
Wow. There you go. Jeez, when I kick people in Muay Thai, my foot is so sore. And then the next day I'm just hobbling around and complaining.
You might have a Liz Frank and not even know it.
I probably guarantee I probably might now after that.
Yeah.
No, but no one steps on me and I don't tackle.
Yeah. Still, it's a lot
I'm more when I kick someone and I misjudge the kick. Usually I meant to kick someone with your shin. That's the thickest part. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to kick someone like
with your foot.
In terms of different style of martial art, like Taekwondo and karate use a lot of like they flick and use the foot. Want to use that kind of area where the foot meets the shin.
Mm-hmm.
But in Muay Thai, you want to use as much power. It's all about power. When you kick, they use always that shin bone. Have you seen those guys who kick trees and stuff like that to toughen up the shin bones? But sometimes when you misjudge, you're not as good. You're not really good at judging distance, and sometimes you might throw a kick out and someone might move, or you just misjudge the whole distance and you kick someone with any of your foot, and because you're throwing with a lot of force, by especially someone as big as me, and then when you kick someone, and then because it's the tendon on the foot, everything just comes back and just stretches, unlike when you kick someone in the shin.
I could imagine that would be very painful.
Yeah, and you try to put on a brave face or poker face, so you don't want to show someone you're hurt and they jump on you, and then next thing you know you're unconscious.
Show no weakness.
Yeah, exactly. But then it's like the 1 minute break, you're like hobbling around and then you keep training because you don't want to stop because it's fun.
Yeah.
Silly.
That's the main thing, right? As long as you're having fun while you're doing it.
Have fun and do it properly.
Exactly.
So you had that. So how long did it take to come back?
So I had to have a mandatory 12 months off.
Really?
Yeah.
12 months?
Yeah. Well, because you had the initial surgery and then 8 months until they took it out.
We're in a moon boot. And
so
crutches, then moon boot.
Yeah, we're getting into detail now, but it was 8 weeks non-weight bearing.
Yep.
So foot wasn't allowed to touch the ground for 8 weeks. Then another 8 weeks in the boot. So that by that stage it's been 4 months because it's been 16 weeks.
Yep. And then
after that you could do because you've still got metal work, all you can do is walk. You're not allowed to run. You're not allowed to do anything.
You're right.
Until you get the metal work out.
Ligaments.
And then once it's been out, again, 2 weeks to allow just for like healing.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, a slow return to sport.
Righto. Wow. So did you have to have a secondary scan to check to see if you weight bared, it wasn't like the bones weren't spreading out or anything like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Might as well have done like an ACL or.
Well, exactly. If you look up Liz Frank injuries in the AFL, it's actually what Dane Swan retired because of.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there's been a few out there.
I didn't follow much.
They're quite rare. So I think it's actually Chloe Malloy has come back from one of them as well.
Yep.
So that's why she had a year off.
Oh, there you go. Jeez. I think a foot injury like that, like a syndesmosis is probably more like a pain, invasive, like actually something that,
Well, essentially it's almost like the same similar role, just one's in your shin versus one in your foot in regards to holding bones together.
Yeah. Have you had much to do with, have you seen many syndesmosis injuries?
That's a Shazzy Wong injury as well. I think she's been through a few of them. Yeah.
Because a lot of people, because a lot of people who would have done ankle injuries might have done a syndesmosis because that's what it presents as, an ankle injury.
Yeah, so most people rule it out as an ankle injury, but then it doesn't heal as quickly, and that's when you need to start asking questions. Have I got the correct diagnosis or what's actually going on?
We had 3 last season.
Wow.
So we had 2? No. Yeah, 3. We had 3. One guy had to have surgery. He had the syndesmosis and then he broke his leg. But we think he broke his leg a couple of weeks before he did the syndesmosis because there was a little bit of healing already. Yeah. It was a
so maybe fibula. He has the high pain threshold, really.
He actually came on the podcast, Milan Murdoch. He came on the podcast and he's a little bit of a go-getter. Actually, the reason why he actually did his syndesmosis because he was getting tackled and he fought to stay upright. Whereas if he just went with the tackle and
went to ground,
he would have been fine because he ended up twisting his whole leg, got twisted underneath him, and his ankle obviously was under the load. But yeah, he ran off and tried to actually get back on and play, but
yeah, that's like Hayley Miller, who I played at Freo. Yeah. She in one game, state game, fractured her fibula, but she was convinced it was a corky.
Yeah, right.
So I remember I was the first one that ran out to her. I was like, Miller, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I just got a corky in my calf. And I was like, oh, do you want to come get it checked out? And she was like, no, it's fine. I'll run it off, and literally played the rest of the game with a broken leg.
And then the next day was?
The next day, well, I think that night realised, hang on, this is really sore. Better go get it checked out. And next minute had a fracture.
Yeah, right. That's the same as Milan. He said he thought it was a corky. But then like he had said 2 weeks ago against like another team, he said, I got a really bad calf corky, but I haven't thought about it since. But yeah, he's wild, that guy.
Crazy.
He's too young. He's too young and too tough for his own good.
Yeah.
We had another guy who did his syndesmosis, but he had it done. I think it was the other foot he had it, and then this was the other one. But he's had like bad ankle troubles all the time, so he went conservative, and then he was able to get back and play for the rest of the season. But yeah, it wasn't as bad, but took a while to kind of do the conservative route, because once you offload it and then you're reloading, you might as well have the surgery and come back. But I think he wanted to get back to have a look at recruiters and stuff like that. But different. And then, but yeah, here's what he was able to play the game out and do that sort of stuff. So yeah, presenting different.
It's crazy
because it's three different ligaments.
Yeah.
So yeah, people don't know that. This one that goes up the shin and the one that covers the bottom.
There is, yeah.
See, and then so you were studying to be physio as well, all while playing AFL or training. Before it was pre
AFLW. Yeah. So I was probably lucky in that space in regards to, because I got recruited later in life, being 24, I'd already had the opportunity to kind of establish my career as a physio beforehand.
So you finished everything. You're out in the working workforce.
Out in the real world. Yeah, working full time.
You had to do, obviously you have to do placement, all that sort of stuff. Where did you have to do placement for physio?
So I was lucky enough, before the world went crazy, I got to do a Go Global campaign through Curtin. So I actually got to spend a month over in China and work as a physio there for a month.
No way.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool.
How did you, so obviously the biggest thing would have been communication, would have been the hardest thing.
Absolutely. A lot of sign language.
Yeah, right.
We learnt, a lot of pointing.
Crossing,
we learnt the basics. And then other than that, we had one patient who could actually speak better English than our other physios.
Yeah, right.
So we just ended up seeing that patient the whole time so that she could communicate for us.
Yeah, interesting. Because they're very, I know a lot of the younger generation, like Western culture, they're learning the Western culture, because my sister's gone over there and they teach in like a kindy preschool type of school, and it's all about teaching them the Western culture, like, movies and taking them out, teaching them how to like dine, like knives and forks, and it's funny because they're still saying one time they did this like scenario, and then they had to walk in, teach the boy to pull out the chair for the girl to sit down, and all this sort of stuff.
Teaching them manners, all that
sort of stuff, and they have they have English names and all this sort of stuff. So it's quite interesting. So
teaching them manners, they probably have better manners than half of Australia. There,
but they say it's she says they get a lot of pressure, like the parents do. Like it's run by like a normal school, you get a principal and all this sort of stuff. But the parents ride the principal pretty hard, so they essentially run, say what they need to learn, or if they're not doing a good enough job, they do open class. So the teachers, the parents come and watch, and they do sort of stuff. So
the pressure would be on.
It's wild. That's what happens when you live in a country like China. Crazy.
Everything is so heavily controlled.
Exactly. So 1 month over there, what kind of, was it just a general population you're working with? Was it an athletic kind of background?
It was actually quite an intensive hospital. So the people, I was in the spinal ward, so people that have had spinal injuries. And so it was quite an intensive kind of environment in regards to, they lived at the hospital and they'd come for like a 6-week stay, and they'd get their physio appointment every day while they were there for 6 weeks.
Wow.
So it was more like a rehab setting. A rehab hospital.
So what would you have them do? Depending on...
depending on what level they had. So if they had a relatively high spinal level, normally they had lost the full function of their legs. So it would be all about teaching them to utilize their upper limb strength. So doing a lot of lift offs the chairs and lifting techniques, so that's how they would be able to mobilize. Right.
And then, obviously the communication would have been hard.
A lot of demonstrating.
Yeah.
It's a very hands-on profession anyway. So
how old were you when you were doing this?
I graduated when I would have been 21.
Wow. Do you remember any words?
Ni hao.
It's the hello, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. No. There's actually, while we're over there, we had a little bit of free time as well. We were with a big group of friends. We were there with other physios, OTs, speechies.
From Curtin?
All from Curtin, yeah. And we knew the word for where, which is Nali, and we knew the word for beer. Pigeon. So we went out one night on the weekend and we were saying, "Where's beer?" Literally, Nali Pidzio. is what we were saying to anyone in the street, and no one had any clue what we
Oh,
were
really?
saying.
You were no good?
No good whatsoever. But eventually we figured it out.
Did any of you think to learn a little bit of, was it Mandarin?
Yeah, we attempted to, but to learn a whole language.
Isn't it? Isn't that a little app you can just do?
Well, now technology is so useful that you can type anything in and it'll translate it for you.
Yeah,
so we did use a lot of the apps back then. Yeah. They're probably even better now.
Wow. Was it number 1 ranked spoken language of the world?
Yeah.
Number 2, is it? Number 1.
I think so. I haven't checked recently, but I think because of their sheer population, that probably helps.
If anyone's on a lookout for an unpaid internship as a fact checker on my podcast, feel free to give me a shout out or throw them there. Send me your email.
Yeah, get a producer who can do the quick Google searches.
Yeah, I'll do my own producing. It's so hard though. After I know you get back and I do a lot of the cutting and editing. Just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Send it in, put it in, that's it.
Keep it natural.
Because if you can go on like, you've heard of Fiverr before? It's like a freelance, it's almost like an eBay for like personal services.
I have seen that actually. You can
that's
get
how I
people
got my
to
logo.
design things.
My logo, just found some guy on Fiverr and he designed a logo within like 24 hours. It was like $30.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Two different like sizes. You do that. You can do heaps of other stuff. Like you can get social media manager.
Yeah.
You can do that sort of stuff through there.
Wow.
All technology and that sort of stuff. I'm just giving out a free advert for Fiverr. So if you want to send me Fiverr, if you're listening, you send me through your details. I can get some money for sponsoring.
Exactly.
So yeah, so you went China, you came back, and then did you go to placements anywhere else around?
Yeah, so I did 5-week placements.
5 weekers. Oh,
yeah, so that's basically your whole final year is just full of placements. So mainly hospitals around Perth. So I went to PMH when PMH was around, not the Children's Perth Hospital now. I went to RPH. I went to Sir Charles Gardner. Yeah, and I think it was even before Fiona Stanley was even open. So there you go.
Oh, there you go. I've only been here recently. So how long has Fiona Stanley been open for?
Well, I've been out about 6 years. So it's only been open maybe 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, there you go. So obviously working in the hospitals and 5 weekers, did you feel like that wasn't kind of the stream you wanted to go down? You wanted to go more like the athletic route? In terms of physiotherapy, or you were?
I think just naturally that's where my passion was anyway. I always loved playing sport. My first exposure to physio was through sporting injuries anyway. So I think that was always the avenue I was going to go down. I just kind of had to tick the boxes in regards to the uni course to tick off all those hospital-based.
What's the hardest, what's the most challenging thing about like doing rehab in hospital setting or?
For me it was probably just dealing with some pretty hardcore issues. Like one of my placement at PMH was actually in the oncology ward. So you're talking about young kids with cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I had a pretty fun job at that stage. Physio for them is their exercise. Yeah. So it is also their playtime. So as a physio in PMH, my job was to go in and play with kids, which was pretty awesome. But, sometimes they'd be knackered or there'd be such strict protocols in regards to they were immunocompromised. So they weren't allowed to leave the room. Some of them weren't even allowed to touch the floor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you'd have to bring in a fresh bed sheet and roll it on the floor for them to be able to step onto the ground. Yeah, so that was probably just the exposure to things like that. That was probably the most eye-opening. Yeah.
And I guess that would be hard to kind of work with, even that. And then older people as well, when they're on the last leg type of deal, and probably, hard way to look at life, I guess.
Yeah, I highly respect the physios out there that work in aged care, because I guess coming from a sporting background, I'm always thinking about constant progression and improvement. Yeah. And then when you get to the elderly, your main aim is either to maintain or to stop the rate of decline. Yeah. So I personally find it hard to work with someone knowing that they're continually getting worse. Yeah. And there's nothing that you can do about it.
It's hard. Because even when my grandfather, Italian for grandfather, when he broke his hip and then they had a hip replacement, and then typical Italian stubbornness. Still broken,
Now we know where you get it from.
Yeah. You see the scans like, look, it's fixed. And he's like, no, it's still broken. Anyway, once they stop moving, it's pretty so quick, pretty rapid. decrease. But have you seen, I think it's on Netflix, the old home for 4-year-olds or something like that? Where it's,
I have seen that.
Seen it?
Yeah. My parents were watching that for a while.
It's hilarious. It's actually pretty good. It's actually quite interesting, and then makes a lot of sense all at the same time, because you get young kids and you get the old folks up and about, continue moving and or keep them stimulated with games, or get them to do puzzles with the young kids, or get them up and about for walks and pick flowers or something, whatever thing I was watching.
Things that are just random and then chaotic.
It's moving. It's, they still have their keep the spatial awareness, able to bend over, pick stuff up.
Kind of similar like theories in regards to sport as well. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Correct.
So, if you have a few weeks off from the gym and that turns into a few months off the gym, then you are going to lose your strength, or even when it comes to running.
Yeah.
So the same principles really to human adaptation apply.
Right. So after you done all your placements, you graduated, you got yourself a job, and then you got drafted to Freo. Did you find it hard to kind of fit in, or like to, I don't know, make it balance, like a work-life balance? You have to, because physio is quite a full-time job, and you probably be, I don't know, depends on your hours if you're working early afternoons, and you gotta have train.
So physio is normally an out of peak hours kind of job in regards to it's not just 9 to 5. Physios are often open before school, after school hours as well. So now I've just learned just to take the pressure off myself. I'm not attempting to do full-time hours really. I'm more giving myself either start earlier in the morning and have an early knock-off, or the days that I know that I don't have training, I'll just make up my hours then.
Yeah. Okay. So when you first started at Fremantle, what kind of was the weekly, let's say, pre-season?
Yep.
Does pre-season and season change much in terms of training days?
Training days in regards to if we play on a Saturday, we'll train certain days, and then if we play on a Sunday, we'll train on the other days. So there definitely requires some flexibility.
Yeah, okay.
Which is why I just ended up saying a blanket rule for the last couple of years. I need to be free from about 3 p.m. onwards for footy training, because otherwise
Monday to Friday.
The change in hours is too hard for any employee to accommodate.
Oh God, that's hard. So a weekly breakdown of training at Fremantle. What is it? Monday.
So Monday is normally our touch session, so hands-on footy, and also a gym session.
Yep.
In season, we'll also include a game review, or nowadays it's a review of Saturday training, because normally we do some match Saturday, so a bit of a game review as well. Tuesday is one of our heavy sessions, so full night out on the track.
Oof.
Wednesday is a gym session at home or at your own location, so you don't have to come into the club for it, which is just a good way that you get your own time away from the club, or you can do it in your own time. You can either, if you like to do it early in the morning, you can. If you like to do it late at night, you can also. Thursday's back at the club for another session. Normally not too heavy of a session. That's normally when we do our game plan, which is less intense. Friday off, which is my big working day to fit in those extra hours. And then Saturday morning training, which is easily our most intense session of the week.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Do you is it Saturday early morning or like mid-morning, 8 o'clock?
I got to get there at 7. So I think we start training by about 7:45, 8 o'clock.
If I had my personal choice, I would train early morning.
Yeah,
every day of the week. Even because I don't know why. Maybe it's because I work during the day or whatever. Just when it comes to training at 6 p.m, I'm just but mentally I'm just not in it. And I feel like, if I can get up early and do gym session in the morning, I feel fresh, ready to go. I feel like just a lot more clearer mentally.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's a frustration thing.
Yeah, I think you just train your brain to get used to it, because that's when we majority train.
Yeah, you
just kind of have to deal with it. But I tell you what, Saturday, by the time you finish a Saturday, you're absolutely cooked, because it's a longer session. There's lots of match in.
Now it's warming up too.
And it's bloody hot.
But don't you feel good though once you're done and it's Saturday and it's like sunny?
Yeah, normally like to come home and jump in the pool almost immediately just to cool off. And then normally I try leave time, honestly, for a Saturday afternoon nap. Just any recovery that you can get into that period, just go for it.
Power naps. Do you coffee nap?
I have before. Yeah, I don't mind it. Normally I just put on a podcast or an audiobook, and normally I'm asleep for a little while anyway.
Yeah, right. Audiobook.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get into audiobooks, but as you can see, I like my books.
Yeah.
Do you find audiobooks I feel like it's hard because sometimes I like to read a book and then like to quickly go back and reread or just to hash over something. Just it might be. But you find audiobooks you can do that easily, or you have to like leave a mark, I guess.
No, if you knew how far back to go.
Yeah.
So obviously the chapters are like individual sections. So you can go back to a certain section if you need to. I fall asleep to audiobook every single night.
Really?
Yeah.
You fall asleep? You sleep with headphones in?
No. Just playing it out loud.
Oh.
Yeah. So from my phone, I'll just play it out loud, fall asleep to it every night.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you listen to at the moment?
But
don't you fall asleep and you miss where you're going?
Yeah, but then you can go back if you need to.
But how far?
But it's a Harry Potter audiobook, so I know the book that well.
Why are you really listening? Is it because you something just like white noise sort of stuff?
Yeah. It's the same. I listen to or I watch Harry Potter when I'm studying because I know it so well that I know that I'm not missing out on anything, but it's enough to have background noise.
That's a good point because if I study somewhere and it's dead silent, I can't focus.
Yeah.
You got to have something just to kind of distract you every now and again. Just
yeah, exactly. So if you need a break, you can look up and watch it, but I know that I'm not going to miss anything.
Yeah, because you can't do it for something that you haven't listened to before because then you're always going to be like, what am I missing? What am I missing?
Yeah, exactly.
Get off something that you know that is not really...
It doesn't matter.
Not a temptation to distract.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Righto. So, Mondays, gym. What's your most favourite part of training?
Match sim.
Yeah,
every day
anytime
of the
you
week.
get to go at training or have a go at a footy.
Exactly. That's why we play footy, right? Is to actually play footy. So match sim, or we've been doing a lot of small-sided games, so a lot of handball games.
Do you play AFL9s?
Or not quite, but we kind of play mini ball, which is kind of the same thing, just without those little niche rules.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So any small-sided game or match sim, I'm all about it.
Have you ever played like actual competitive AFL9s?
Yeah, the rule with the mark is what gets me because obviously if you own that space, you get the mark. Is that correct?
I don't know. I don't quite remember because I was quite a few years back. We were in uni and we didn't organize a team. It was my mate was like, "Oh, do you want to play AFL9s?" And I was like, "Yeah, right." And he goes, "Yeah, we need someone else." And then we got another cousin.
Thirds,
the thirds, and if you play with girls, and they like only 2 people can score. Or you have little armbands, and girls score 9 points instead of 6.
Oh, I would love that actually.
Yeah. Anyway, it turns out that like our uni, we were just kind of ragtag bunch of misfits. Like we never trained together or anything like that. And the Adelaide Uni, which is the prestigious uni there, they have their own competitive team who actually like train together and stuff.
Wow.
And funny story, we all played round robin tournaments and they demolished us in the round robin tournaments. Turned out we ended up playing them in the last game to decide who actually won the whole competition. We ended up winning by like 2 points. Oh, God. And they were legit spewing.
Yeah.
Like
they probably trained hard for it and you broke their hearts.
And we went out and had beers and we were like cheering and shit. For team who only got together on the first day.
Yeah, you were a throw together team.
Anyway, where were we? AFL9s, you liked match sim. What's the most disliked part of training? Conditioning, but you like running.
Yeah, but
the weights.
See, running shouldn't ever get easier.
Yeah.
You just get better. And if running does become
harder,
easier, then you're not working hard enough.
That's what I say.
So I don't think...
Well, how come it never gets easier for me? Is it because I don't do it consistently enough? Running?
Surely you don't want it to become easier.
Yeah, but
that defeats
I want
the
it to become
purpose.
easier because it's so hard.
means you need to do more of it.
Maybe,
Yeah. So...
It is good though because when I do, because it's the only thing that really gets me like my heart rate up. Like even if I do like general conditioning like on a bike or like interval high intensity interval training with like weights or kettlebells and throw in a bike, I never get up to 180, 190
and when
I run.
Same, 100% the same. I've tried to, when COVID hit, I tried to take up some like road biking just for fun.
Yeah.
And I just found it wasn't a cardio workout for me. It was my poor legs were dying. My legs would die whenever I went for a ride and any hint of wind and it would majorly affect my riding ability.
You have to work on that aerodynamic.
Yeah,
you need a little helmet.
I wasn't conditioned for it in regards to muscle strength requirements. So my
what kind of bikes
my
do you
cardio
have?
was fine. Scott.
Some road bike with tyres super thick.
Yeah, no, they're thin.
Oh,
it's a good road bike.
It's an actual road bike.
Yeah. It's actually even got digital gears. So I change gears, but it's done digitally, not actually through wiring. I don't know. It was fancy. It came with the bike.
Oh, right. Never heard of that before.
Yeah.
But I'm not an avid bike rider, so I wouldn't know.
Again,
I just know that the more power you can put into the pedals, the faster you can go.
Yeah. Well, should be, right? It should work that way.
But then you obviously need the lungs to carry yourself a great distance.
Or the leg strength, definitely. Ugh.
That's funny. But because you're carrying your own body weight, it's not like it's a super like lung heavy cardiovascular thing, but you also need to have a bit of strength to be able to push yourself, especially if you're going up hills or depends on where you're riding.
Gears and
gears have to be
there's so many different modifiable factors in cycling, which is why it's a whole world of its own in regards to bike fits and training for it and doing power or doing interval or doing distance. It's a different world of its own.
I had David Bryan on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. He was a Paralympian triathlete. He competed over at Tokyo, and he was saying that like he can make up so much time just through like aerodynamics when he was at Waste and he was doing his training. They had him in the wind chamber with his bike, trying to work on different positions on the bike was the most aerodynamic and make him go faster or it's to decrease the amount of time.
Yeah, so technical.
And there was at a point they were saying like shaving down body hair and like this was pretty fair and barely any hair on his body anyway, like just on his arms. They're like, no, shave it off, you save like, point something of a second.
Well, it's when, milliseconds matter in that type of elite competitive
We were saying he finished 7th and I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was only like 30 seconds or something between like that first from the leader, I think.
Every second counts. And even like their transitions, like going from the swim to the bike or swim to run to bike, whatever it is. You need to get that transition so smooth because if you're taking an extra second to tie up your shoes or put your shoes on, that can be the difference between winning.
That's what he's talking about. The whole, they were like, I think the couple of weeks they were drilling in the transition times. Like they like do race type transition. So you'd be fatigued off of a running and then going into, if you're fatigued off, you come out of the swim, then go straight into the bike and then
finish with the run.
Bike and the run. So they're doing like interval swim, interval bike, and then interval run, and then working the transitions in that, which is crazy. Which makes me think, wouldn't it be cool to do a triathlon?
Absolutely. It would be so cool.
That's probably why guys who do footy do marathons because it's exhilarating.
I currently work with a lot of triathletes and honestly, they're one of the best people to work with because they just have to be the most motivating. Yeah,
because
they just have to do such a sheer volume of training and you need to get your bike in, you need to get your runs in, you need to get your swim in, plus your strength training in, just the ability to fit all of that in, plus all your recovery techniques, adequate nutrition, because it's such an endurance sport, you need to keep yourself pretty well fueled. They are, I reckon, they're the most satisfying athletes to work with.
Yeah, and it's driven. You have to get up and times that 5 o'clock to get you running because you'd have to train multiple times a day because it's the 3 different events in that one. You got to probably run early in the morning and then maybe afternoon swim and maybe one morning gym and then bike. Do your bike intervals.
So I work with a lady and she is training for a marathon, I think, and the sheer number of training sessions she fits in. She comes and sees me for a gym session at 6:30 in the morning, and before that, she's already done an hour run.
Wow. And in the winter, it's freezing, it's dark. At least like in the summer in Perth, it gets bright pretty early, so it's not too bad to go that early for a run or do whatever. But if it's winter and it's cold, there's so many temptations to stay in bed or to not do the work because it's like it can't be easy. Like training all that much. Would have to suck.
It makes us footy players look absolutely weak, doesn't it?
I had one of Casey's partners. He did the Noosa triathlon.
Yeah,
and we were watching him over like you can watch his tag go through all the things and being like, especially having to do it like an Ironman or something somewhere in Noosa where it's humid and all that sort of stuff. It'd have to be so goddamn.
It's like
tough.
a couple of games in Darwin that we played. Honestly, was just a completely different experience. Like your body is just not made for that humidity. It turned into like a game of wet weather footy because everyone's that sweaty that it just turns the skills are terrible. Yeah. Hydration.
Has there been much talk as into how to prepare you girls this year because now you're going to play in the dead middle of summer? Like in terms of how you're going to cope, recover, deal with the heat?
I definitely think training in the heat helps, acclimatizing to the conditions, which is why over in WA we're pretty lucky that it does get pretty warm on those Saturday morning sessions, so that we probably acclimatize better to when I love it when the Victorian teams come over and it's a really, really hot day.
Yeah.
Bring on the 40 degrees or so, because even though you're struggling, I just know inside that they're struggling more.
Just as much. They're just going to fall off a cliff.
Exactly. So I think if you just train for it, then you'll deal with it better.
Yeah. But there's been nothing they haven't, in terms of like nutrition, anything like.
They definitely keep an eye on our hydration.
Hydration,
That's obviously your number one risk factor. So we work really hard on trying to get adequate fuel and adequate water in.
I'll send you a podcast after this, but there was one, I was listening to a podcast about permacooling. So like essentially you stick your hand in a glove and it sends cool water through the glove, so your hand doesn't get wet. It's just essentially through like pipes. Because you're
mainly to drop core temperature. Yeah.
So your capillaries around your hands are different compared to like some on your chest, back your neck, because there's no hair. Yeah. Same as your forehead, there's no hair, and same the bottom of your feet. The capillaries there are different, and it's more to do with transfer of heat. So think about like if you're really hot at night and you sleep under the covers, what's the first thing you do?
I always stick my foot out.
Right. That's the same kind. That's the theory. And when you're like sick and you're really hot, what does your grandmother do? Your grandparents do?
Yeah, put a towel
cool
on.
towel on your head or something like that. So it's all about doing that, but it can't be freezing cold water, because then it constricts the blood vessels and then you don't cool off. It actually goes the other way. You actually overheat.
Yeah.
So it's all about that sort of stuff. But yeah, they're doing a lot of work. Now, one of the studies that came out, it was like an NFL, because all of the studies, the San Francisco 49ers are doing a lot of work with it. And one of the studies, they did a set of max reps bar dips. So they did how many reps. I think the guy said 60. And then did the permacooling technology, put it in for 3 minutes. And then he did a second set. So that was the failure. So he did 60 reps. And then the second set he did again after the 3 minutes of permacooling. He got 69. So he got a couple more. And it's all about, so you're actually able to do more, same or more than what you're able to do before, without the fatigue effects of the heat. Because what happens is your muscles have you get the, your muscles heat up and you produce the lactic acid or the pyruvate. And as you cool down, it's able to shuttle
process it better. Yeah, and there you go, give you more energy.
There's something to look into. I'll just give you the podcast and you might have a look into it.
Yeah, for sure, because we definitely have like towels available
you get
to
towels
us and ice towels. And
sometimes one of the guys, the guy who actually runs the podcast is an actual doctor. So
cool.
He works out of Stanford. He does his research. So the stuff he actually puts out there is credible. And he's saying that like at home, like gym junkies who want to don't actually have the whole technology type of thing, like a frozen water bottle, but then like throw it between your hands so it's not on there for too long.
Yeah.
So like you might just throw it across for 3 minutes. But you might not
implement though.
Yeah. But it might not be like, you might not get the actual 100% benefits like if you had the actual glove to put on, but
something's got to be better
than nothing. Exactly. So yeah, that's cool. I thought about that. And then I said the same thing to someone a couple of weeks ago. That's kind of cool. But he said if you like for actual endurance runners, it's difficult to do because if you're continuously running, you can't run with a glove on.
No.
But they think about, because obviously NFL, you have different teams and you have guys who need to come on. Like your wide receivers, you probably have to do a bit more high intensity efforts. But yeah, I haven't seen it come across into AFL yet, because it'd be perfect if someone comes off on the bench, especially now when you have a limited caps on the rotation, so you actually might have to stay off a little bit longer.
And it would be easy to implement.
3 minutes. Probably thinking the guys who probably run the most, like your midfielders and your wingers.
Yeah.
Probably that. Do you know how much do you get GPS tracked?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, every game and every training session.
What's your number? Your highest
for games? Well, I think I might have cracked into the 10Ks last year at some stage.
Damn.
Yeah, it's normally what I have a look at.
That's not bad.
Pardon?
It's not bad.
Yeah, and normally, to be honest, we want to have a look at high speed running. That's normally the figure that you want to keep an eye on. That's how you know you're working.
But everyone, this mad competitiveness, who can run the most? Is the same for you girls or not?
Look, I think everyone checks it and everyone has a look, but it's not there's no trophies at the end of the day.
No trophies.
And different positions will obviously run.
Yes, of course.
There's the difference between running harder and playing smarter. So, I see some midfielders like Anne McMahon, she is so smart and she therefore doesn't have the need to run as far because she can get to those right positions every time versus someone like me who's running around like a headless chook trying to figure it out as I go. So that's, again, reasons why I probably clock more Ks, but is it being effective?
Yeah.
Is always the question.
And it's always harder because if you just look at the raw numbers and say, you might say someone who run less might be lazy, but then someone who might actually be lazy and to run a lot because, depends on.
It's about efficiency, right?
Yes.
So you can run a little, but get plenty of the ball and be in all the right places. So I don't think it's an adequate measure necessarily of footy performance. No. I think it's an indicator for how you're traveling. Yeah. I can't remember off the top of my head, but someone was talking to me about they were able to use like percentage of high intensity running and some other type of measure. And you're actually able to tell if guys need to work on like speed or like terms of if they're like a slow runner who need to work more on like elastic potential, so more explosive type of work in the gym, and another kind of metric to work out if they need to work on more strength because of their speed or something like that. Yeah, so it's actually like profiling athletes.
Yeah, exactly right.
To figure out what they need. It's an interesting.
So what position? Midfield, wing.
So do I play?
Yeah. Where does your coach play you?
Previously, I've been running off a halfback.
Yeah.
This year, they've dipped me into the midfield a little bit more, which I must admit I am loving.
Yeah.
I love it in the midfield.
So you say this year, as in the season just gone?
No, it's
like
the
this season coming
up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I've been doing a lot more training in the midfield position.
So that's just because you get more of the ball?
It's more fun for multiple reasons. One of them is just, for me, the freedom to run anywhere.
Yeah.
So, and not necessarily always needing to keep an eye on your direct opposition.
Yeah.
Another thing is like you can take more risks in the midfield because the consequences aren't necessarily as high. If you stuff up in the back line, normally results in a goal.
Yeah.
If you stuff up in the midfield, you've got a few, backliners or other midfields to kind of help you out. Yeah,
but the whole point is team defense, isn't it? So you can run back to protect or to help out the backs.
Yeah, and I naturally have a little bit more of a defensive instinct anyway, coming from
basketball.
Well, coming from just a general backliner perspective. So I think I'll tend to run back a little bit more, which probably enables other midfielders to run forward and score more goals.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Do you ever feel, because obviously, I don't know, depends on how high the level you play basketball, but the tactics and how they work, like defense structure and 1v1s and the zoning of basketball, do you feel that's come across to women's footy at all? Because obviously it has it in men's. They do a lot of that tactics in terms of like zoning and team defense structure.
Well, I think probably more like athletic characteristics probably move between the two sports really, really well.
Yeah.
So that's why we have a few previous basketballers in our team. So we've got like Gemma, Ebony and Gabby that all had pretty successful basketball careers, and they're able to translate those skills over to footy.
Yeah.
And I think, in regards to like one-on-one defensive strategies, and it's quite like in basketball, you body up, you post up, things like that, which come into footy as well.
And another thing I think as well, just thinking off the top of my head, is scanning as well. Because in basketball, you have to not just watch your opponent, you have to scan around where they're going to move,
help
how
defense.
they're going to move, and defense. I think that transitions a lot into footy a lot as well, especially now because everything's so hectic
and fast.
How fast it moves. You need to be able to scan. Even if you've got the ball, you need to be able to scan and be able to get rid of the ball.
Decision making comes into it as well.
It's wild. So let's go to the gym.
Yeah.
What's your favorite lift? Do you have a favorite or exercise lift? What's your strongest lift?
I do. I actually love a deadlift, and it's probably taken me a while to come around to the idea of a deadlift, but I think everyone should be doing deadlifts. I'm going to throw a grenade here, but deadlifts are good for your back. So despite everyone saying...
From a physio.
Yeah, exactly. But it is very valid,
very rare from a physio to say that.
A deadlift is protective of your back. It's like the same with training at a high load isn't bad for you. Training at an unaccustomed high load is bad for you.
Yep.
So I think in sports and in training, you need to expose yourself to as much chaos as you can, because that's what sport is. Sport is chaos. So I think sometimes traditionally physios get a little bit too protective of athletes, and I think you need to let them go a little bit more, which is why I love training deadlifts, because it defies what you think, and normally you can actually go pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So I don't mind.
Trap bar deadlifts, yeah?
Nah, go straight for a barbell.
Oh, love that.
Just what I've got at home, really. I don't have a trap bar. So, and plus I find with trap bars you tend to use a little bit more of a squat pattern.
Yes.
And I like to separate a hip hinge and a squat pattern.
Yeah.
So train them differently.
Yeah. Because I always found with the guys when we go straight to barbell, they lack the mobility to get around.
Maybe hamstring length.
Yeah. A lot of the bigger guys struggle.
Yeah. And I think that's, again, you need to practice it.
Yeah.
So you might start with an RDL.
Yeah.
And then eventually work your way down to full depth.
So once I understand that. And it's also as well back positioning and shoulder, thoracic extension. They don't have any of that most of the time.
Yeah.
Especially it comes,
Which again isn't a reason to avoid it.
No.
It's a reason to train it.
Yeah. I love an RDL, just simplicity, and even doing like hang cleans and stuff like that because you actually get these you get eccentric hip load as well because
and you get your explosive power
out of it. So and you so you got deadlifts. I'll think about winning questions, but we'll go off from there later. Deadlifts.
Yep.
What else?
What else do I like?
Yeah, what else do you like?
Oh, you've got to love a back squat. Who doesn't love a back squat? And I guess it's
me. I don't.
You don't?
No. Yeah, I do love them, but they take a lot of time to put the weights on and off for me.
You've got to load so many plates on and off the bar. But that's what I love. It's satisfying going heavy.
Yeah, and it feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think with weight training especially, it's one of the things that you can actually do to pure failure. There's not many other things you can actually say, hey, I gave that 100% of my effort. You know, you run a race and you always just think, could I have done better? Could I have done more? But you have a lift and most of the time you can either do it or you can't, which I think is actually quite empowering. And the ability to train to failure, knowing that that's what you've got in there, and then you try it six weeks later and you can do it. That has to be one of the most satisfying aspects of strength training, is actually seeing raw data improvements.
Check.
Yeah.
100%.
It's so satisfying, and it's so satisfying to watch. I've been training a lot of athletes in strength training and seeing them change and them gain confidence and them gain weights. You know, it's a bug. You get addicted, and it's really satisfying. Yeah.
It's what's the old adage? It's like 100 pounds is always 100 pounds. 100 kilos, always 100 kilos. The weight never changes. Your attitude and everything else. No matter what happens in life, it's always the same. It will never change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always got a buzz out of, especially when I was younger, and you can always, especially as a male as well, you can gain strength so easily. And every session come in, you're breaking PBs. But so now I'm training been almost 11 years. It gets hard.
They do, right? PBs don't come every week, which is why they should be celebrated.
Oh, yeah. Do you have the bell? Do you have the bell there, Frio?
No, I don't.
Don't have a PB bell.
Maybe we need to implement that.
Who's the SEC coach there?
I'm going to get back to Kate Starr and say I want a PB bell.
Surely. No.
Oh, we celebrate it. So they get recorded and the gym's a vibe anyway. A strength testing day. There's massive vibes in the room. People are yelling. You know, music's up. Everyone's celebrating. It's a good vibe. It's a good
Where do you come in so strength testing is a 3 rep max?
1 rep max.
Oh, 1 RMs.
Yeah, exactly.
Back squat? Is that the test? Back squat, 1 RMs,
back
bench
squat,
press?
bench press, and a bench pull.
Oh, yeah. Love bench pull. It's cool.
Yeah.
No chin up?
No chin ups, but they are regularly in our programs.
How many chin ups can you get max?
Oh, I literally just got it the other day, a new PB of my chin ups. I'm very much on the lower end of the scale, lower end of the ladder here. I just cracked the 6, and I'm pretty happy with my 6, to be honest. But we definitely have some freaks, or otherwise called unicorns, in the team where they...
Unicorns, that we call the freaks?
Yeah, absolutely. The unicorns.
I've heard that one before.
Yeah, purely because they're so, you know, you just get the rare unicorns who can just do everything. We have people that are packing on a lot of weights onto their chin-ups and still just smashing them out. It's so impressive. I try to stay to the other side of the gym because when I watch that, I'm like, I don't want to go next.
You can rack on... Rack them on.
I don't know. Anyway, I was training with Tia Haynes the other day and we were benching the same, and then I was like, oh no, we've got chin-ups next. Oh no. Like in my mind, I'm like, I know that we've got 6 programmed and I've never been able to do 6. She's like, I add weight to mine. I'm like, now you're just rubbing it in.
Damn.
So
I always feel like chin-ups are the ones that you feel more like a bot, like you just feel good after doing chin-ups.
I've been sore for a couple of days. My lats have been so sore. But it's satisfying to tick them off.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah.
I've been changing it up. I've been going switch grip. So I go like 3 and then 3 the other side.
Yeah.
Just kind of, because it'd be a bit of like this feels like you just get a bit more out of one side.
Yeah, I like that because that's how I do daddies with an alternate grip.
I just play around with it.
I'm going to play around. I'm going to try that.
Play around.
I'm going to try that.
Because you have more strength on one side than the other.
Definitely.
You can change around.
Yeah.
What I've been doing iso hold sometimes.
Oh.
Like start of work, I just hold them.
Oh.
3 sets of 10 seconds, just hold.
Death.
I like to add, sometimes I go max. So I just go max rep.
Yeah, cool.
Sometimes I like to go weighted and then do 1 rep.
There's something that you can play around with, you know, like there's so many different variations. You can do a lot of fun things with them as well.
And it's so good for shoulders, for shoulder health as well. Because, throwing a lot of jabs, did lots of manual labor, a lot of lifting, odd things, my shoulders kind of get a bit jacked up. But just hanging the bar and just repping out chin-ups is so good. You still feel so free.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of mobility work as well.
Yeah. And it's also because you don't get a lot of, like, serratus don't really get trained a lot as well, and it's good for your positioning of the shoulder protection.
Yeah. Exactly, especially in an overhead sport such as footy.
Yes, and I was just about to go with overhead stuff because a lot of guys get jacked up and they're all like, I'm trying to mark, and I'm like, just hang off the bar is the best thing to do.
Yeah, just need to loosen up a little bit.
And obviously you got how's your home gym setup going?
It's good. It's definitely growing.
What have you got? What's the stuff you got? A rack?
All right, so I got a squat rack. I kind of have like one of those mini racks as well. So technically I've got 2 barbell setups, 1 squat rack, 1 squat stand, I think they call it. Yeah. I've got a treadie, a rower, an assault bike.
Oh, damn.
A GHD.
Oh, that's cool. GHD.
Yeah. Obviously a plyo box. Yeah, I like to mix it up, right? Yeah. So I've put myself through little sessions and just make up the most randomest workouts and then see if I can do it.
Yeah, nice.
It's fun. Yeah. Torture.
Do you feel like you kind of let yourself go? Like if it's a day, you're going to ride it and you go, say, for example, 20 calories and then you go, maybe 12. Do you do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're ripping yourself off if you do that.
I feel like the temptation's there.
The temptation is always there, but that is definitely a cop-out. I think you're your own worst enemy if you're cutting corners that way. Because I just think you can call it being stubborn, but I reckon if you set a goal to do 20, you're only cheating yourself by doing 12.
But what about if you wrote some crazy stuff and it's like so hard you can barely do it?
Okay, well, it's got to be within reason.
Okay.
So let's say if I said that I wanted to do 1,000 push-ups, right? Look at me. I am not going to be able to do 1,000 push-ups. So then I'll just rearrange my workout, which I've done multiple times, especially if I'm programming it myself. You've got to be a little bit more realistic.
Have you heard of the CrossFit workout called Murph?
Yes. Of course.
It's 1.6K run.
Yeah. 100 mile. Yeah.
Yeah, 1 mile, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 400 squats, and then 1 mile run to finish off. Have you done it?
I have not done it. No, I haven't really dipped into the CrossFit kind of domain.
That was wild.
I heavily admire people that do though.
Wild.
Yeah.
People do that with a weight vest on. Like females do it with a weight vest on.
It's the most amazing. I love those CrossFit documentaries. They have to be that's some good quality material right there.
Nothing more sad when you watch that documentary or you watch those CrossFit documentaries because there's a few of them out there and you're sitting on the couch eating a bag of chips.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there going, what the hell am I doing with my life?
It's motivating. You'll finish it and be like,
no, you do.
I'm going for a run. God,
they train multiple times a day.
Yeah.
To get massive. They train so much. Their body's just gotten so used to all the endurance. They just put on so much muscle.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. And you look at them and you go, holy shit. You admire.
You can tell, right? If there's a CrossFit athlete walking down the road, you can normally tell. Which is a massive compliment, I think. To look like a CrossFit athlete is admirable.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, even for the females.
I'm so jealous. I wish I could put on size, honestly.
The best probably the GOAT of female CrossFit, Tia Claire Toomey, is Australian.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
How's that? Repping the Aussie flag. How good.
She's an incredible athlete. Even that's probably why she's so good at CrossFit, because it's such a generalized kind of, domain of athleticism. But she was at the Olympics, Rio. She made that.
For weightlifting.
She won gold medal in the Com Games 2018. Yep, 2018. And then I think she was entering bobsled in the Winter Olympics.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure I've seen her for social media a couple of years. She was training for that. So
yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and she's able to do all this other stuff as well. And then she's probably the most successful female CrossFitter. She's won five world champs in a row, and she's obviously won several other what do they call them, smaller competitions, like other. They used to call them nationals, but they don't call them that anymore. They will change it up. I used to be big in CrossFit, and then obviously moving around.
It is just a different beast of its own.
Yeah. Oh my God, it is. It's so hard to train and do all sorts of other stuff in it. But
so yet to dip
you should try
into
it.
that.
You should try it. I reckon a lot of footy players or like that domain of intermittent kind of cardiovascular fitness would work well in football. From football into CrossFit.
Yeah, again, for me, it'd probably be although I would love to get stronger and bigger in the gym, I've got to remember that my speed and my sprint and
but after football,
post-footy.
Or even off season, I reckon, wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah,
you can do lots of other. A lot of their workouts can involve interval runs.
Yeah,
rowing,
definitely. And the assault bike. Whew.
You can do burpees. There's actually one sport, CrossFit, where they love to do burpees. Where it's like, okay, I'll do 500 burpees for time. Oh, no worries.
Yeah.
Every other sport is like a punishment, but like CrossFit.
Yeah, if you're late, you have to do burpees or something like that.
CrossFit is like, they just do it voluntarily.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Different beasts.
They can do burpees and then they jump to a target and have to touch the target. That's pretty bad too. Do you have any, like, what's the thing? Like, if someone's late to a gym session or something, is there like they have to put a song on, they have to sing to a song or dance or anything?
It used to be burpees for I think 10 for every minute that you're late.
Oof.
But I don't know. Recently, maybe I've gotten a little bit softer in regards to I'm just kind of, if someone's running in late, they're normally, they're feeling guilty that they're late anyway. Yeah. And normally there's a reason why they're actually late. They weren't late on purpose. So sometimes I think, why punish them when I know that when I am late, I get stressed. So they're already stressed when they walk in. I don't need to stress them with some extra burpees.
Yeah, well, you're very nice. I'm not like that. Especially for my guys. I know they're voluntarily late.
Yeah.
Well, especially some of them are a little bit younger as well. They don't really understand the importance of time, or that really time management is probably a big issue for young boys. But when they come in, I might make them do a little dance. Yeah. One of the boys picks a song.
I reckon something as embarrassing as possible. I reckon that's more fun.
Put on the spot or tell a joke. They got a choice. Either you tell a joke, has to be funny. Like you actually have to laugh.
Pressure's on.
One guy, actually, I can't remember the joke off my head, but he did one last. It was pretty good.
It was good quality.
Yeah. It was pretty good. Anyway, where were we? Where are you working now? Physio.
So I'm spread between a few clinics at the moment. Oof. So yeah, I like to spread my time. So I've also gone back to study as well. So I'm currently doing my Masters of Sports Physio at Curtin, which has honestly been one of the best decisions to go back and do more intensive study, especially in the sport domain. I feel like it's complementing and it's bringing my world of physio and my world of sport together and marrying them up, which is perfect. I love it. So when I'm not at uni, I'm working up in Kalamunda at Complete Wellness Physio.
Yep.
They more specialise in more chronic pain, clinical Pilates, that type of approach. And then I'm over just in Myrie at Endurance Movement. Yep. And that's where we specialise more in strength and conditioning sessions, obviously musculoskeletal physio as well. But they do some interesting things there in regards to like lactic acid threshold testing.
Oh, yeah.
They do a few bike fits. That's hard. I did one about 6 months ago.
How'd you go?
Oh, so sore.
How'd your legs go?
Oh, they just turned to jelly. Yeah. That's the thing that stopped me is my legs physically could not go any faster. And obviously it's a progressive test. So you start slow and then every 4 minutes you up your pace. Yeah. And every single 4 minutes they're taking your blood lactate. It's for any runner out there, it's really interesting because from that you can kind of do some fancy calculations and kind of get different paces for what would be your aerobic threshold, your lactate threshold, and your VO2 max pace.
Have you had any fighters go in and do that test?
Any fighters?
Yeah,
no, I haven't.
Not
interesting. That I know.
Because from my experience, a couple of like matchup fights did like high, like not like fights, but then higher than sparring is like a middle ground. Is that you feel like in that last round you're like jelly.
Well, I mean, you could apply it to any sport as well. So normally we get someone on the treadmill, but there would be absolutely no reason. You can do it like on field testing, really. Go have a round, get a pinprick, get your lactic acid, and then compare it round to round.
when you probably could do that. Just like you do, like in sparring, you just kind of see, because it'd be interesting because that, like you got 5, well, it depends on the rounds, how many, if you're doing 3 minutes on, 1 minute off, or 3 and 1, 3 and 2, sometimes I do, just the terms of the rounds and how long they can go for.
At what point do you
tip
fatigue?
it?
Yeah, you tip over.
Because then you can use that, you can strategize, and if you're someone who has a high lactic threshold, you can kind of pace yourself and wait for the later rounds, wait for your opponent to kind of gas out.
Wait for them to hit that.
Or if you're someone who has a low lactic threshold, you need someone who needs to go first.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting.
Yeah. So you've there, and then where else?
So at Kalamunda, complete wellness, and then Maori at endurance movement. Just those two.
And then studying.
And then studying.
And then playing.
And then playing footy.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you balance your time?
I guess it's all just down to scheduling and planning.
Do you have a big planner on the wall?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So I've definitely, at the start of every semester, I sit down and say, okay, what hours can I do where? What can give? What has to stay? How do I fit it all in? And I think if you're doing things that you like, it won't be too exhausting or fatiguing for you. Yeah. So each of the things that I dip myself into, it seems like a lot when I say it like that, but they're things that actually give me energy and make me better. So I love each of those things that I'm doing. So it's not fatiguing, it's not exhausting. It's actually empowering and fun.
Yeah. So let's break it down. So you sit down, what do you go through first? Is the uni subjects you write down where you need to attend in first, and then that fills in, and then you go work, what dates am I working, and then you got obviously where you're training.
Footy for me is probably the most important. I know that I'm going to be a physio for the next 50 years.
Okay.
I don't know how long I'm going to be able to be a footy player for, but you're talking, the next 5 years if I'm lucky.
Okay, so that's priority number one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be silly to put anything in front of that, given the opportunity that presents itself right now is working as a footballer. Definitely number one.
All right. So how balancing all of that and saying you are successful in doing so, does it fill you with pride to be able to do all of that sort of stuff and be happy with your life?
Absolutely. I think for me, it's all about being hardworking and always progressing and moving forward. So in footy, and everyone that plays a sport knows what it's like to work hard to get results, and you're always looking forward in sport. You're always like, how do I be better? How do I be fitter? How do I get stronger? How do I improve my skills? Yeah. There's no reason why we can't take that progressive mentality into other aspects of my life.
Right.
So both professionally, okay, so I'm a footy player. Okay, I can train for that. I'm a physio. How do I become a better physio?
Yeah.
Or, being a partner. How do I be a better partner? How do I be a better sister? How do I be a better brother? Not that I am a brother, but the principle the principle is the same in regards to how do I improve in more than just one aspect of my life.
Yeah. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about sport, where it's structured in a way that it's progressive towards a goal, and it can be transferred across any part of life. And that's like one of the biggest things I harp on about a lot of times is in sport, it's probably the only real case in the life where you overcome adversity and it's satisfying, and you can use that energy as momentum for anything else in life. You might go through a rough period in study, and it's like, well, here's another challenge.
Yeah.
Work through this. What are the steps? And you can kind of reflect upon sport. Like I went through karate grading and went through white belt all the way up to black belt. And it's just a progression of steps you overcome. Like you have to do kata, and your first kata you do 10 knuckle push-ups, and then you work your way up to 100 knuckle push-ups, and sparring, and then do different katas, get harder. And then, if we do form 8, but when you do your kata form 8, you have to do 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like you make sure you still remember everything else. So it's a thing that's always a part of you.
I think sports psychology is really just performance psychology.
Right.
Is really, you can apply that to business psychology. You can apply that to any type of motivation, confidence, any type of psychology. If you take the principles from sport, which most athletes have ingrained in them, and you can literally copy and paste that into any corporate environment as well.
Yes, exactly. And that's one of the things that, have you Jocko Willink from Extreme Ownership? Have you read it in his books?
No.
No. The book's there.
Yeah, look at you. You are a good reader.
He was a leader of a Army Corps say the SEALs in Iraq, and he led one of the SEAL teams. So I think it was a top, and he had his co-author Leif Babin was one underneath him. And at war is probably the most extreme level you'll find the organization of teams and how to run a team and leadership. And
heavy consequences on the battlefield.
Exactly right. You know, in terms of making sure you're planning, communication, all of this sort of stuff. And the way he structured this book was that he has extreme ownership was one of the rules or lessons, and had a whole bunch of other ones. And then he would say, give a scenario about when he had to use one of those in the field. And then he now runs a business called Echelon Front, which he goes out to corporate businesses in America, and then they run them as teams like they would in the SEALs. And he would give both one example from one end and then one example from the other end and how it worked together. And his second book, The Dichotomy of Leadership, would actually went over those rules and gave both sides. So like extreme ownership, being like taking ownership of like if I'm the leader and then I might have 2 or 3 guys underneath me, being an extreme owner. How do I be over the top of those guys, running them like a horse, you know, not giving them enough leeway to go out and let them do their thing, but still
creativity.
Yeah. You helping, dampening those aspects. But yeah, interesting book.
Sounds it.
It could be your next audio book. But don't listen to it while I go to sleep. I don't feel like you get the most.
It won't put me to sleep at all. I'll be too interested.
He's actually really good. I think he does his own audio, like he reads it himself.
Yeah, that'd be good.
He has a really good voice. Listen to all of his podcasts, and he's like the guy, like a very good voice.
Yeah,
you know, radio guys like have like radio voice.
Yeah,
but he's just got like a deep, like if you listen to him, you're like, yeah, he was in the SEALs. He
has the voice for radio.
Yeah, he's wild. He does like jiu-jitsu and this sort of stuff. He's a crazy guy.
Yeah, cool.
He's cool. Anyone else? Who's your like number one? Do you look for anyone for like motivation? Do you have someone we draw inspiration from?
I mean, it's probably just you're a product of your environment, right? So whoever's in your environment, you'll normally naturally gravitate to people that tend to motivate you or lift you up. So we're really lucky at Freo in regards to we've got some great leaders in regards to Juddy, Cara Antonio, or Kiara Bowers. You can't help but be surrounded by these people and not feel motivated to work harder. You've literally got the best player in the league right in front of you. Watching her work.
100%.
And she is still to this day the hardest working person in our team. So she's at the top of her game and is going to stay there because she still works harder than everyone else. And that's just crazy to think of. She's not slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah. So
definitely those two. Yeah, definitely those two take the cake.
Anyone outside of football?
That inspire me?
Yeah.
My dad has to be one of the most organized people in the world. So he has achieved a lot in his life. He's actually CEO of a small company. But he still is one of the healthiest people I know in regards to nutrition. He runs the HBF 12K nearly every year when it's on and sets a new PB every year.
Progression.
Exactly, right? And I don't know how he manages to balance everything, but it all comes down to planning and scheduling. And so often I'll look to him to see how he's managing things and say, okay, well, I've got nothing to complain about, do I?
Yeah, it's funny that you look at other people and you say, man, I should have anything to complain about. Like you look at someone's ethic, like work ethic or ability to manage time and that, and you go, I could do that better. Especially someone who's driven like yourself, being the youngest of 3. I guess that's where it comes from, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like it? Yeah. You said, like you said, you're a product of your environment and you just kind of soak in what was around you when you were younger, like you're a sponge, just soaking up.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, watching other people succeed should motivate you to succeed yourself.
That's why I love doing this podcast, because whenever I leave, and because I speak to so many people who are successful, even if they don't think they are, when they leave, I was like, I need to go work out.
Yeah,
I always
exactly. It's motivating.
I need to do something, or I'm filled with energy because I've been around with someone who gives off a lot of positive energy. Whether people think that's all wank, but I feel like there's a thing. There's a different.
Oh, absolutely. You feed off the energy that other people give you.
Oh, yeah. That's 100% a thing.
And I guess that's the whole point of team cohesion, right? Is you're feeding off each other's energy. You want to make sure it's positive energy and it's going towards the right thing.
Right. Is there a mental kind of switch you have to make? I guess there'll be days where it gets hard and sometimes training is difficult. Do you kind of have to kind of sit down and be like, all right, forget about all of this, what's happening, time to train? Or do you kind of give yourself time and maybe not go at it hard for that training.
And I mean, it's interesting because sometimes you can't switch your mood.
Yeah.
So although it's easy to say, yes, I'm the perfect human, then I'm happy all the time, that's not realistic. And so I think you've got to allow yourself to have the bad days, but then see how much you can get done in those bad days.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, doing something is better than nothing at all. So even though if you're feeling pretty shit and you just want to lay out on the couch, I can guarantee you're going to get more benefit from going on that shitty run than you will laying down on the couch.
100%.
Like just getting up and doing it will actually make you feel better in the long run.
Yeah. I think as well, I'm not sure if you had this similar kind of thing because you're so competitive, but when I always like to compare myself to myself previous, like I know gym, like am I doing 3 reps today? Is it the same 3 reps that I like the weight I did 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
If it's not, then I feel like shit.
Yeah.
I'll put myself down because I'm not like
you should be improving.
Yeah, or I should be better or the same or at least or
but then again, everyone's going to have their good days and bad days. So I guess you want to hold yourself to high standards, but then you've got to be understandable that we as humans, we go through periods of ups and downs. We can't be constant progressing over a long period of time and having no dips. So I think you've just got to ride the waves. You can't hit PBs every day.
Yeah.
And that's why you should celebrate them is because they're rare. You can't do them that often. So I think acknowledging that there's going to be times where you don't run that well or you don't play that well or you can't lift as heavy. And it's about how you bounce back, which makes you a better
100%.
athlete.
That's a mental edge. Do you do any, like do you have a journal or do you have any of those like mind journals? I think in a game journal,
Yeah.
A lot of girls have been coming around.
I know a lot of girls that do. To be honest, I'm a deep thinker anyway, so I don't need to overthink the game more than I already do. But I think it's about knowing yourself. And some people love journaling and they love the idea of getting things down on paper. For me, that's their way of processing. For me, I know that I process things differently. So I don't necessarily like to put things down on paper because then I overthink them too much.
Yes.
So
that's a good point.
Everyone's different in how they process things. I don't journal personally.
Yeah. When you say you're a deep thinker, do you deep think about like the sport, the game, or is like stuff outside? Because I guess if you're deep thinking a lot about what you're already doing physically, like stresses you out too much?
Yeah, well, and I guess that's when you need to not overthink it and allow yourself to have those bad days. So it's easy. Yeah. I think especially it's a female trait. Unfortunately, overthinking things can just end up in a world of trouble. And I try not to overthink, but naturally I'm a deep thinker. So
like for
going
example,
into games,
okay.
We get oppo analysis.
Yep.
So you know who you're going to be playing on, or you know who's going to be swinging through the back line, forward line, or the midfield, and you know kind of the key attributes of each of those. I'll have a look at that, but I have found in the past if I'm too focused on my opposition and I'm overthinking my opposition, I'm therefore not focusing on my strengths and play my own game. Because footy's pretty simple. If you have the ball, they don't, So if I have the ball, then they can't use their strengths. They can't use their attributes. So I need to step away from over-analysing the opposition.
Right.
And sometimes just you need to acknowledge it. You need to know your opposition, but that doesn't necessarily play the game out for you.
Right, that makes sense. Do you ever feel that, do you have times where, because I know those inner game journals, there's a part of it that I actually quite like. There's a bit of says gratitude, what are you happy for the day? Do you feel like you go through that in your own head as well? Because yes, it makes you feel a bit, I guess, when you start to look on things what you're happy for, it's a momentum thing. Like you start, oh, I'm happy for this. Oh, then puts everything else into perspective. Like, oh, maybe that isn't such a big issue. Well,
that's why I think footy in itself is such a rare sport because it's one of the only games that you really celebrate goals that often, that regularly, dramatically. I know they celebrate in soccer, but you're talking maybe a few goals here and there. In footy, you're getting 10, 15 goals, hopefully. And you do a lot of celebrating in footy. Every time you have a half time or a quarter time, you're coming in, you're getting around each other, you're giving each other high fives. It's quite a fun, energetic, celebratory environment to be in anyway. So I think you kind of have gratitude for your teammates through those processes.
Yeah. How does communication go with girls' female sports? is that a lot of communicating, or is it like you're always in groups, like pre-training meetings? I get on meetings, but like you catch up and you go through like midfield sort of stuff, structure sort of work. Is there like a lot of it?
I think every club probably does it slightly differently.
Yeah.
So we normally, I don't want to come to training and sit down in a room and go through my meetings first. Again, that's overthinking it. If I'm coming to training, I want to get on the track. So we normally do our meetings after training, which is when you can start chilling out and just kind of the heart rate comes down and you can just think about concentrating rather than when I first get to training, I want to train. Mm-hmm. So we normally do our meetings after training. Again, we'll have the occasional line meeting. It'll probably, as we get to more in season, we'll do more line meetings. But for now, it's just game plan, game initiation, so full team meetings. And then we'll split to line meetings afterwards.
Nice. And also, you've had Bob Murphy come on board.
Yeah.
You've had a chance to catch up with him. And
yeah, absolutely.
What's he all about?
Oh, he's a dead set legend.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Couldn't think of anything less, really.
Yeah, like exactly. He's just a dead set legend.
So what's his role?
Yeah, so he's kind of the coach of the coaches.
Yeah, right.
So to speak. So he's taken on that role. Where you can just tell he just loves being around footy and loves being around footy environments. And he's probably way more calming than what I thought he would be. He's super chill. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you can tell, I think anyone that's around him, he'd be the type of person that you stand taller when you're next to them.
Yeah.
Like, they just give you that extra bit of oomph that makes you feel that little bit more invincible.
There is that thing, that like energy, like standing around. You'll be the same when you're around Juddy as well.
You stand a little bit taller.
It's weird how people have that and then some people don't.
Yeah, I think that's one attribute of a good leader, right? Yeah. Is that standing with them, you're not reliant on them, but they make you better. They empower you. It's
a crazy trait. Because because you ask all leaders, they don't know what it is themselves.
Yeah, it's just a vibe.
Unless it's they exude confidence of the team, like the team's confidence,
Yeah, they just have faith in you and you know that. So it's not, you just are better with them around.
I used to work with the coach, Josh Carr.
Yeah, okay, I've heard that name.
He played for Freo and Port Adelaide, kind of a little rough nut type of, people had this, like when people thought of him, he was this guy who always went hard, and you think of him as a coach would be like kind of the same, like he'll go hard at the paint, kind of coach, like pointing the trigger down, that sort of stuff, but complete opposite.
Yeah.
Right, as in terms of like he'd be like calming voice, would communicate softly, would never be quite loud. In the year I worked with him, I don't think he maybe raised his voice once or twice.
Yeah. And it wasn't even like more effective when you choose your moments, right? So especially, I don't think that women necessarily respond well to aggression. Often, like it's a way that you get defensive or you withdraw a little bit more. So I think, especially in the space of coaching, I think a lot of male dominant characteristics have had to be, they've had to reassess how they approach the women's game.
I admit that.
Yeah. And it's just, we just process things different. Women are naturally more emotional. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, if you approach it properly, you can actually form the deeper connections and get more from your athletes by forming that connection.
100%.
So.
Yeah, that's one of the big mistakes I did first thing. Screwed up. Well, when you think of 70 people up in a road, it's hard to organise everyone. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
But I like to say, because it's kind of my coaching style, what I kind of grew up with as well, being kind of an athlete. Well, not an athlete, but I was coached, masters and in martial arts and this sort of stuff. And then being able to make sure that everything is structured in a way. And I like to be structured in my coaching style. So that kind of comes across as being a hard ass.
Yeah.
But it's just like what needs to be done and makes it clear in my head.
Yeah,
but my communication style is probably not the best. And when working with,
I think you've softened up. Don't worry, Matt. I still think you're a teddy bear inside.
100%. And that's what I had to kind of learn working with the girls at East Freo, and then even at Waste with hockey, is being more understandable of what happens outside of the sport and how it impacts everyone individually.
Yeah.
And then being able to make sure that you're there just to be a sounding board and to help.
Yeah. Well, I think getting your job is to get the most out of that athlete.
That's how you do it.
You need to have a deeper understanding of that athlete and how they work. And there's going to be some people and some girls that will respond to a good yelling to. Absolutely. Yeah. But there'll be others where it's a quiet word instead, you know? And
it's hard as well because at a sporting, like when you work with the sporting team, it's about getting the most out of them while they're at the club. And you want to get them at peak performance, whether it's the player, like with us, you want to get the reserves player to a level where they're competing strength for strength with the guys who are in the league side. So then it's no other reason why you're not playing in league side, not because of your strength, it's because of your skill. Like you need to work on your skill. You don't need to work on the speed, power, strength. You're equal with that. But when you have some, like you to get to there, you have to have certain metrics that are written up. You got to be this amount of strength. You need to be this amount of power. You need to be at this amount of speed. And there's different exercises they need to meet a criteria and target for. And when you kind of break it down like that, you kind of get away from the personal level of getting to know an athlete. I think that's probably why maybe that kind of works well with guys is because guys work on a goal and a structure.
Yeah, because the structure's been ingrained to them, right? Yeah. It's been there from the very get-go. Yeah. Well, it hasn't necessarily. Yeah. The structure hasn't been there for girls, for women.
Yeah, and I think as well with, you sit down with a female athlete and you go, all right, we need to get you here and here. If, we need to do this and this and this to get to here.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they might feel like, okay, but I don't know, I've got all these other things that stress, like, put stress on me that makes all this kind of harder, you know what I mean? And that's stress because, especially down at Waste, it's a lot of goal setting and they've got a lot of pressure from coaches to, from games that they've played at club level, about meeting expectations from a coaching level. Now I've set another expectation. It's layered and it's formed another layer of stress you have to cope with.
Yeah.
And that's working with female athletes. It's been one of the things that I've had to kind of think about before I say something comes out of my mouth,
And it's about prioritizing where you want to go. It's very easy for me to say, okay, so I want to get faster and I also want to get fitter and I also want to get stronger.
Yeah.
And then I want to be better at overhead marking, but I also want to get better at my ground balls. Like you can't do everything. You need to prioritize, okay, what are my strengths? Well, I definitely need to keep them. And then what are my weaknesses or what are my room for improvements?
Yeah.
And how much time do I delegate doing that?
Yeah. I read a quote. I can't remember. It was a footy player came out recently. Judd? I think it might have been Judd. I think he said that he spent 75% of his time making sure that his strengths stay strengths.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think it was him.
Which is another reason why I love footy, is because footy is the type of thing where different physical attributes all have their benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be a big, strong, full forward.
Yeah.
And absolutely dominate. Or you can be a small, tiny, nimble little thing and have your benefits.
Yeah.
So I like that. Footy almost doesn't discriminate. There's so many different physical characteristics in footy that you can be really, really good at and be completely different size, height, weight, different attributes, and you can still be a killer footy player.
Yeah, because we had that discussion last year in preseason with our coaches, well, my head coach and myself. We were designing up our fitness fitness measures, about 30-15 test and then the 2K test. And we were like, well, how do we want to structure? Do we want to, because the way we structure it, we get points based on your score. So and if you say, for example, if you run a 6:30 or less, that's 10 points. That's like pretty fast, whatever. And then it goes down, have increments of whatever it is. Same with the 30-15 test. If you get like a 23, which is probably the highest, I think is from that book someone has gotten. So that's your 10. Goes down like that. Well, do you want to make 5 like your mid-range? Do you want, or do you want to make the top, you do want to skew it so your top, 7 is your middle. Because you want guys, if they're going to be fit, you want them to be super fit and everyone else to work up to the higher level, higher than above average. Because if you've got, point having guys in the mid-range because they're neither really fit or not necessarily unfit. And the same thing for strength. If you guys, if you're average across strength, average across speed, average across fitness, then you're not really going to get picked. What's
Well, you better hope that you're really, really skillful.
Exactly. I didn't mention that. Because you got to make sure you stand out to the coach. You got to give yourself an X factor for him to select you.
Yeah.
Because you obviously you got
But some people do just
traits.
have that X factor, right? You get them to run and they're terrible runners. You get them to lift. And they're terrible. They've got no strength. Yet you'd still have them in your team every day of the week.
Yeah.
Because of their skill and because of their X factor. So although you come from this background, and I do it as well, where you want to enhance everything, some people, they just got it, and you can't necessarily change what they've got.
Yeah. We've got one guy like that, and it's just, and he's not that he's not difficult to work with. It's just hard because you have to make sure you're on him all the time. Because he's this guy, like he doesn't do it on purpose. Like he's kind of like he's a nice guy, love to talk to and all this sort of stuff. He doesn't do it on purpose. It's just like he's forgetful, all those synonyms under the sun, But like he puts in effort enough to get picked, but like he can change a game. Like he's one of those kind of freak, story goes, he was in the gym one time. You got those water crates. Those in there. Probably from here to where the camera is set up, standing up, drinking it. And it was all full. He was the only one that had a water bottle out. So there was five water bottles with one empty space. Just kind of went like this, threw it, and it landed in like upright, perfect in the slot. And me and a couple of guys saw it, and we didn't even cheer or anything. We were just like,
what? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like
people
kind of like,
that can just do crazy
and he's walking off
stuff.
like this, like nonchalantly, like.
Yeah, exactly. Like they've just got it.
Yeah.
Just move differently.
Like he wouldn't, like if you spoke, you would know because he's kind of like a humble kind of guy, isn't like talk it up or anything like that. But he's probably one of the fastest we've got in terms of speed wise, but like walks, like ankles, like pigeon toed. Typical, like just pure instinct football.
Yeah, I can.
Which is wild. Do you have any of those?
Say that I have limited natural ability. 100%.
Oh, really?
Yeah, everything that I've got, I've definitely had to work on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, okay, running, again, one of my strengths, that hasn't just naturally come. Like I have had to work on that massively. So I'm so jealous of these people that just wake up with natural ability.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
I've nothing. I don't think, is that just a young child type of thing, just to grit your teeth and try to get better and stuff? Like, is just, I think you said stubborn.
Yeah, trying to keep up with the older siblings.
Yeah.
Trying to keep up with my brother and sister when they went it through. So probably that.
Do you have, it's a wild left field question, you got to take 4 people out to dinner, any 4 people you can think of that can be dead or alive.
Who would you pick? I feel like I should go real left of field then and go someone really, really interesting. Maybe someone who's seen a lot. Maybe like someone quite intelligent and articulates themselves well, just to try to pick them apart and plus get a few wines in them would be funny. Someone like Barack Obama, right? Take him out and it'll be all real civilized initially, then get a few drinks in him and see what he turns to. That would be fun.
I think he's too straight. I don't think he would change.
You don't reckon?
I feel like he'd be very conservative. I think even if he had a couple of drinks with him, I don't think he would will himself.
Surely he's human. He's got liquid confidence. Human. I don't know.
You'd think that he's been out of the limelight for so long. He hasn't come out with a podcast, or the 1 or 2 podcasts he has done has been a bit curated, and he hasn't come out with anything. He should go on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Look, I'd have to take Jibby out too. Yeah. Let's be fair. The better half.
Yeah, but you can you can go to dinner with her anytime.
I know. I'm that lucky that I'd still take her out again.
Damn. Jibby, you listening?
I know that she'll be listening, so I'm trying to put my brownie points in. Then who else?
It's 2.
Yes, I got 2 more.
Jibby to share the experience with.
Yeah, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Then.
Damn, throw a spanner in the works me because I didn't have Casey in mind.
No. Now you're going to be in the bad books if she's listening.
What else is new?
Yeah. Who else? Someone probably leading physio field would be Peter O'Sullivan. So Professor Peter O'Sullivan. He's kind of like changing the world of lower back pain, which is just really interesting. And he's a bit kooky and a bit quirky as well. So he'd be fun just to pick his brain. I
don't mind people who have a bit quirky nature, like who are in the research type of field, because they have those left to center ideas that they don't go with go with the general idea, and it makes you think about different perspectives.
And then I'd probably like to throw in a high performer in there, someone someone who's revolutionized sport, like Kathy Freeman, someone who came from essentially, like low socioeconomic background and just absolutely trailblazed in regards to women in sport, in regards to culture in sport, someone like that.
Do you follow the Female Athlete Project?
Yeah, definitely. Of course.
Yeah, she's wild. I love everything that she puts out.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
So good.
Got one of those T-shirts.
Yeah.
And she's even an impressive athlete herself, like rugby sevens, footy, and managing all this other stuff as well. Yeah, so
it's massive.
So you got 4.
Yeah.
Where would you go to dinner?
Oh, actually, I'm just giving them a plug down the road. Free at Freo, Emily Taylor's.
Yeah.
But you've got to go there. I went for dinner there the other day and I've been telling everyone about it. That's literally the name of the restaurant.
Huh.
Emily Taylor's. It's like an Asian infusion restaurant. It is delicious.
Where in Freo?
Literally right at the back of Freo Markets.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I've seen that place.
So good. Highly, highly recommend. That's where I'd go. Okay. They had good wine as well. So
would you fly them? You have to fly them all here?
Yeah. Well, you said anyway. I'm assuming that I'm not paying for this.
No, for sure. There's some make-believe.
Yeah.
Make-believe.
That's where I'd go. Or unless I haven't done that much traveling. So it'd be cool to like go to Paris and do something there. If the options were really limitless. If
you were to have your choice, you could have any type of skill or athletic prowess. What would your Olympic sport be?
So if I got to just choose...
Yeah, you are good at any... You got to choose a good... If you got to choose anything you could be good at in an Olympic sport, what would it be?
I think I'd still go for a team sport purely because that's got to be more fun. Like, it's got to be more fun playing a team sport, and winning Olympic gold with all your mates would be so much more fun. So I'm trying to think, what do you think is the biggest team sport?
Australian would be hockey.
Yeah.
Maybe rugby sevens. Maybe behind that.
Yeah, I was thinking more like basketball. Imagine beating like USA in basketball.
But the Opals are
iconic.
But the Opals are Australia's most successful
sporting team.
Yeah, I think they've won numerous gold medals.
That would be iconic.
Yeah, because I had Nat Burton on, and she was the only year. Yeah. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was on the podcast, and she was her year when they were at Rio. They were the only year they didn't win a medal at all, and they were ropeable.
Wow.
The whole social media, the media itself were ropeable with them. So they didn't
vulnerable position to be in.
Yeah. So basketball.
Yeah, I reckon so. Mainly because I failed my basketball career massively. That'd be nice to actually succeed in that.
Do you consider that a failure? You chose football though, didn't you?
Yeah, I definitely chose footy, and I'm way better at footy than I was at basketball. Do you not think if you chose basketball, you'd be any good? Still probably not. And again, I played alongside Gabby O'Sullivan. She was a bloody ripper, and I think at that stage I was like, oh, yeah, this doesn't...
The gap's widening.
Yeah, the gap is widening. The elastic band is being stretched.
Because basketball is a bit more like you got to have a natural ability athletically and even physically, and you'd be able to have that natural skill as well that someone who's a high basketball caliber has, right? You can't really wheel yourself.
Basketballers have flair.
You can't wheel yourself to be good. Like in footy, I can get to 22. Well, girls is a bit less, isn't it? It's 20 on the team? Because you got two less positions on the field.
We've got a squad of 30, and I think we have 20.
You have two more. You have
21.
More on the bench, don't you?
Yeah, because we play with 16, so I think it's 21.
Yeah.
Things that I should probably know.
You have more, like, players can go and be more diverse, and you can kind of have general role players. And
well, you need to.
Less room, more room to hide.
Absolutely.
Hide is probably a bad word, but,
If we had 21 of the same players, we'd get beaten every week. Almost. Depending on who the player was. Because everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses. So you need that diversity in a game of footy. You can't carry the team by yourself. Like you potentially can in basketball. You see the players that are getting like 40, 50 plus points, they're basically doing it all themselves. You cannot do that in footy. You need your teammates.
It's wild. Have you ever wanted to try something but you're too afraid to try?
Not that obvious. No, because I'm pretty stubborn. And if there's something I really, really was dead keen on, surely I'd give it a go.
What about skydiving?
I've done it.
Done it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Where? Yeah? Or somewhere else?
Yeah, no, and I think it was the cheapest one was in Rockingham. So I think I jumped out of a plane at Rockingham.
Jeez, you jumped off or they push you off?
Oh, well, it's a tandem.
Yeah,
the first time you do it. So technically I'm just sitting there not having to do a lot and the guy behind me saying, all right, 3, 2, 1, here we go. So
because your legs hung off.
It was a bit of a passive adventure. I didn't have to do a lot. I wasn't the one physiologically jumping out of the plane.
Did you feel like, was it a good view?
It was amazing.
Do you feel free as your fault? Like, do you feel like, oh my God, like this is an amazing feeling?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was really cool. I feel like it just gave you a different perspective. Like you could see, the world is round. You know what I mean? Like
really, you're that high up?
I reckon it felt like I was up at the moon.
Yeah, wow.
It was really cool.
I feel like I would be amazing to be able to do it yourself, like solo dive.
Yeah, that's why I'd love to bungee jump because you actually get to leap. And do I have the guts to be able to leap off? Not just like fall off, I mean like run out and just go for it.
Because there's something about being up high and then just letting yourself go, like pilot, flying air. Like,
just the ability to let
aviation,
go.
Like all they say when you're up there, it feels amazing. Like you just feel like you're a bird, like flying on it.
Exactly.
Have you seen, David Blaine, the illusionist?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you see his recent thing he did was last year? He went up in his whole idea was to be that kid, hold on to a million helium balloons and be able to float away.
Yeah.
You see that?
I've seen the movie Up.
Yeah. So essentially he was
he
able to.
Did he do it?
He was able to get a team together that designed these balloons with helium, and he was able to float himself up.
That is.
So he was harnessed into the actual balloon.
Yeah.
So he had a special little setup. So he was holding on to all these massive balloons, and as he was going up, he had to release a few to it was all about the weather, the wind, and the way they were designed. There were small ones, big ones, medium ones, and a core that was able to give him lift. So it was all these different weight. He got up to 25,000 feet or something
that's
high, right?
So high.
And he didn't have any oxygen, so he did his own breathing.
What do they call it? Atmospheric pressure.
Yeah. And he was able to, he's done all these ones underwater, hold your breath for like 10 minutes and this stuff. So he was able to hold his breath, and he had a check of blood oxygen, this sort of stuff. But again, to be able to do that sort of stuff, he had to learn how to free skydive and do all of that. And it was amazing. It was all on YouTube.
What a journey.
Yeah, and you get to see it, and it was just amazing. But the whole point of it was he had to learn how to free skydive and pick a place to land. So he didn't have a set destination because the wind took him different spots.
Yeah, exactly.
So he had to, it was in the desert. So the part of the desert was always so rocky, but you want to find something flat to land. And the whole, it was so cool how he was coordinating with his team, like where to land and all this stuff. And one of his team members, his coach, was a guy who actually dove out of an airplane with no parachute or anything, but landed on a big net. I can't remember his name. It was wild.
Yeah,
but it just looks so wild, like being able to go up there.
So you haven't skydived?
I haven't.
You've got to add that to the list.
But I wouldn't not do it because I'm not afraid.
Yeah. It's just the opportunity hasn't come around yet.
Yeah. And also, it is a bit expensive, but
it is. That's why I found the cheapest spot possible.
We've got to do it with my old man because my old man hasn't done it either. I think maybe he's done it. Maybe
it is Christmas coming up.
I won't be home for Christmas.
Oh, you're going home?
Well, I want to go back to Adelaide.
Yeah. But can't you do it there?
No, because they're doing, well, maybe, we don't know if we can go home yet, but because Adelaide and SA is opening up their borders to Victoria, New South Wales.
So do we therefore close off to them? Oh, the drama that is.
I was there last weekend, so.
Oh, that would have been nice.
Yeah, it was freezing. It was my brother's 21st birthday, which is pretty cool, but.
Oh, cool.
It was freezing. And
which is weird because it was boiling hot. I know. Yeah, the weather has been so good.
I'm so jealous. Do you go surfing? You're not a surfer?
No, I've attempted. Like my dad's taught me how to surf. Stuck to the whitewash, and then that was about it. Like I stood up, and standing up's easy. Yeah. Standing up on whitewash is easy.
I beg to differ.
What, you're not surfer?
Oh, well, I can't.
No? Would you?
I feel like my balance, well, not my balance, but my whole center of gravity. Everyone just says, it's like doing a burpee. It's like doing a burpee. But like, yeah, but I can't. I feel like I get on.
Doing a burpee on a balance beam.
The board just goes under the water.
You've got to have the right board. I was going to say, you've got to have the right board.
Probably need a stand-up paddle board.
You need like a 9-inch foamy or something like that. Because I have tried on like one of those like 5-foot ones.
Yeah, no good.
Oh, just slides out from underneath you. Yeah, no good.
I was going to say something. We forgot.
Gotten distracted by surfing.
Yeah. I'm still so bad. Have you been anywhere else outside of, you've surfed anywhere else? Just here?
Nowhere really exotic. I think my dad taught me how to surf in Bali.
Yeah, right.
And you can just head down to the beach and say, hey, I'll give you $5 if you let me borrow your board for an hour. Yep, easy, done. That's where I first learnt how to surf.
Traveled overseas at all? Anywhere fun?
A
Other
little
than
bit,
Bali?
minimally. So obviously China as well.
Bali.
I've been to Korea.
Obviously South Korea.
Yeah, yep. I think so.
You can do those to guided travels up to North Korea.
Right? South Korea, definitely. And then over to Bali. Not really. So not really too far, to be honest. And then lots of around Australia. Yet to do any massive, impressive trip to Europe or anything like that, though, unfortunately. And probably won't be able to for a little while yet.
Do you know, you might not have heard this podcast by Yeonmi Park. She was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and she was a North Korean evictee. So she defected from there when she was like 12 with her mum. And she was talking about, it was like 3 hours, she was talking to all the stuff that they do over in North Korea, like in terms of they don't have food, like shops are empty, there's no food. They have to, essentially, like they see a rat on the floor, they catch it and eat it. Like they don't,
They're literally scavenging.
Yeah, they're scavenging food, and there's no sewage system, so they collect all their feces and stuff gets put off the back lawn, right? But then every year they do a big pickup, and in terms
of the smell. Ugh.
And they have to give it in, like they check it, and if you don't have enough, you get like killed. Like it's just ridiculous. Like, and in terms of like if you get you have wild. It's wild. You have to listen to it. What else is there? If you like, you have a picture, you have to have a picture of Kim Jong-un in your house.
Yeah.
And if they come through and they do an inspection and it's like dusty, you go straight to the concentration camp. And she says that there's generations of people born in those concentration camps. So if my grandfather did something wrong, then my parents, I will be born in that concentration camp too. And it's because he did something wrong. And it's all to do with, like, they'll say the bloodline. It's all to do with the bloodline. But yeah, it's wild. Crazy. And it's like we're living in 2021 and that's happening right now.
That's so nuts.
It's happening right now as we speak.
Completely different era.
She says there's dead bodies just on the ground in the middle of the streets just because it's like people starving. It's wild. It's
so wrong.
You hear about, what they did over in Germany, in the Nazi Germany in
and that's
45.
Now.
Yeah. And that's happening right. I was then, and it's happening right now.
Yeah.
How like China
interfered with this,
and how China are in cahoots with North Korea as well. So China are empowering North Korea because they were like, you can escape from North Korea up into China, but sometimes they let them go, and then they get caught up in China, and they get sold off to the sex trafficking. That's what happened to her and her mum. So her mum, that's wild. So she ended up. So her mum essentially sacrificed herself for Yeonmi Park. So she was able. So she was sold off. No. So she got sold off into this guy bought her and was able to, like, do whatever he wanted with her.
Yeah.
But like that was her mum, so she was able to still live with him, but like not to do anything with him.
Wow.
Yeah. So she went through all of that, and then when her mum died, he just like you said, I don't have any money. He essentially he gambled all his money away. That's how he had so much money to begin with.
Yeah.
But he lost it all when he kind of said, I've no use for you.
I'm done with you now.
I'm done. Yeah.
So that's why she became free.
Yeah, and then she ended up finding she trekked all the way through, I can't remember the full story, but she made her way back to South Korea. There's a way of getting from China back to South Korea and then becoming a refugee. And then she moved over to America. But she's saying living in America is almost just as bad as what it was in North Korea, like in terms of all the politics that they have to live with in terms of in there. Because she went to college, like she's super smart, and the political correctness that's gone wrong over there. It's been wild. It's interesting.
Yeah, very lucky to live in Australia.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, we have a pretty good here. We live a pretty cushiony life, really.
Cushion, yeah. I like to think so. But like, you always think though, the people who like the really interesting people are the ones who have had to go through the most interesting people have got to go through some pretty hard stuff.
Some adversity. Yeah, I guess that's about resilience. Right? Tells a good story too.
If you were to have, this is a question that comes from the great Uncle Frank, He's the number one listener to my podcast. And he gave me a whole bunch of questions to ask my guests who come on. And some of them I've asked, but this is my favoritist.
Yeah.
My favoritist question that he gave out. And it's, if money wasn't an object and nothing was impossible,
yeah,
what would you do?
Well, Frank, just to answer your question, I think it would be travel. Absolutely. If money wasn't an object, I would travel more. Just explore the world, because I think, exploring the world, not only exploring, and I'd love to learn every language in the world, right? Because then you could just have conversations with anyone and just think of all the people that you could talk to and all the things that you could learn from going to different environments, different cities, different countries, seeing how everyone lives. Like, imagine if you, not that I'd want to go to North Korea, but imagine if you could go there and make a change.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
Language is weird too, right? So I heard this the other day. You have like universal, like kind of signals, like handshake, waving, different sort of stuff. But like communicating through voice is so different. Like, so my grandparents are both Italian, migrated over here. I've never had to have a relationship with them. Like, you have a service level relationship because I speak broken English, like, at best. So I'm kind of jealous of people who are of English background or had Australian grandparents, able to like grow up and go out and, talk to them. They, Casey still speaks to like her nana every week. And, it's kind of like, wow, I never really got to, and if they wanted to talk about they're getting on a ship and driving over there, they did it like under protest, like,
Yeah, exactly.
Those little school projects. It was like, oh, where do your grandparents come from? All this stuff. And he's like, oh, I've told the story again, Leno.
Yeah.
He was like, under, but
under interrogation.
Yeah. So like you never really got to have that relationship. And the same with my parents as well, because they could understand some kind of, Italian, but it was never at the level that they knew. And
they couldn't have a full in-depth conversation.
Well, they can and they can't, There's a level, they'll be talking Italian and they'll be like, plate.
Yeah.
Like one English word thrown in like in a paragraph.
Yeah.
Sort of stuff. So yeah.
Hard to keep
crazy.
up with.
But yeah, the language one is interesting. What would be the first one you want to learn? French would be pretty wild.
Yeah, again, it depends where I'm going.
Where would be the first place you'd go?
Definitely Europe.
Where in Europe?
Probably Italy, actually. When I think of like everything that I want to go see in Europe, it's definitely Italy, like Pompeii and
South Coast is pretty nice. That's where our family, or my mum's side of the family is South Coast.
Yeah.
Southern Coast.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
That's because it's very similar to like Australian. It's like you got really nice coasts on one side, and then if you go central, it's like nice, luscious vineyards and lots of stuff.
The wine. Yeah, that's where
pizzas. Authentic food, right?
Yeah, authentic food, authentic wine, and then a lot of culture and architecture and that type of history as well.
I think French as well would be a place I'd love to go to Paris.
Yeah.
Because I've seen...
it's definitely a bucket list item.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been watching on Netflix the World War II recolored, like remastered. They went through all these different things. And they... Did you know that Nazi Germany invaded Paris? Did you know that?
I'm not going to lie. Like, modern history is not a main strength of mine.
Yeah. No, neither's not for me either, but that's probably why I've always had a little kick on it lately. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all that sort of history sort of stuff just kind of, especially like the UK kind of, they're like a small island, but they had an empire that spanned most of most of the world, right? And that, the whole sort of thing kind of fell apart after World War II. But yeah, there was a clip that they played after the Nazis invaded Paris, and like Hitler's just standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, like,
yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, I didn't even realize. And the tanks rolling in, and you got what's the big, like, almost looks like the U. Is that Louvre? The Louvre?
Yeah.
That was called. Yeah, and it's just like tanks driving through the Louvre. I'm like, whoa! It's because they just essentially. The Paris government were like, the French government, sorry, they were like, let's just like not put up any resistance because they're going to bomb everything.
Yeah.
Or like nuke
so
it,
to
like,
keep integrity, we'll just...
They just moved down south. They just let them, they're like, let them go down south. Wow. And French at that time has all had a pretty significant army, like their navy and their army were quite highly regarded because they helped a lot in the World War I. So. Interesting.
Taking it back.
You go. What's your Netflix at the moment? What's your algorithm like? You watch Good Game?
I did watch it.
Don't tell I haven't watched it.
You haven't? Oh,
I refuse.
Lovely idea. Well, not lovely, but great idea. Poor execution.
Oh,
yeah.
Never heard of that. What's that about?
No, as in like, then the idea is so interesting.
Sorry.
And then the way that
so you're not a fan?
Finished. No, because I watched it all, so I can't say that I wasn't a fan because I still had to watch it all.
Sucked you in.
It did. It definitely did suck me in, but I wasn't happy with the ending. And I feel like they could have done so much more with it, and they didn't. So I still watched it, and I can't say that I'm not a fan because I still watched every episode, but they just could have finished it off better.
Damn.
I know, I'm a bit cruel. Other than that,
everyone's giving it raving reviews. I was like, what's the best thing ever?
Well, why haven't you watched it then?
Because the whole not dubbed thing, and I like to kind of veg out when I watch my Netflix. I don't want to have to read. So that's why I haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah, there is some voiceovers now. They're terrible voiceovers.
Yeah, they're terrible. So, and then
terrible.
Someone's finishing off a sentence and the camera's already gone to the other guy and he hasn't spoken, like he's speaking and it's not the guy who's talking. So.
Yeah, the voiceovers are a bit cringeworthy. And that Wentworth's on my list to watch. I need to get updated with that. Otherwise, Animal Kingdom is also on there, and they released a new season that I haven't kept up with. So yeah, I don't really pick the shows.
Nice. We're approaching 2 hours.
Yeah, wow.
I'm gonna wrap this up.
Yeah, for sure.
So
it's been fun though.
Do you want to shout out anyone? Say thank you to anyone?
Say thank you. Thank you to Matt for having me.
Yeah.
I'm taking out the microphone as we go.
That's a good. You weren't about to hear that. You know how good I am in my effects in post.
Really?
I've got so much better. YouTube, bang.
And it fixes it.
No, not YouTube, but YouTube, watching YouTube tutorials.
Has taught you how to. Shout out to everyone who's been on the podcast before me, if you're listening, because that's a little bit of fun to keep up with it. So now I'll become an avid listener.
Thank you very much. I love for you to come listener.
Yeah.
Anyone you want to, any of your teammates, do you want to point a finger at and be like, put them on blast, like that's a bad haircut or a bad tan job?
Oh, bad tan jobs. There's probably
bad
plenty
tattoos.
of them. Like our away kit is in white, right? So that you need to tan up to wear white. So I can tell you now, pre-game routine. Steph Kane, if you're listening, I'm definitely gonna pull you out here. I had to room with her one night, and her pre-game routine is a pre-game tan. Literally the night before.
Do you have to do a back, or
game.
She can reach her own back?
Well, she didn't ask me for any help, so I figured that she had it covered, and she's probably not thinking about her back too much. It's more eyes and
the back of the Guernsey though has a bit of a taper to it, so you have to make sure you get the lats.
I didn't watch her technique; she did it in the bathroom.
She must be quite mobile because I can't even touch the back of my shoulder.
Yeah, I think she would be. And the pre-game tan, it's almost getting infectious. I noticed there's a few girls now going for the pre-game tan.
What about yourself?
I'm not a fan of it. I haven't done it. That is too much effort before a game. Surely. Well, I don't know. Maybe if the rest of my teammates keep doing it, then I'll look like a piece of paper running out there. So I might need to take some.
I don't know. I
notes.
feel like my skin would just soak it up. Like I wouldn't even change color. I don't know. Like it's so white. I guess
you know what? Let's try it, and then we'll take notes on how far we've gotten.
Let's not.
No, that's very funny. But no, I think you do need to get a few more Freo players on your podcast. There's been a lack of purple on it.
I do send out quite frequent messages to a few of the girls. They just have never responded back to me, so you can let them know that.
Yeah, all right. All right.
This is the actual – I was actually making I said a joke. Did I tell you? I think I told you I am the unofficial West Coast Eagles podcast before you.
Yeah.
So like 4 or 5 of them on. And now finally got the first Freo girl on here.
Absolutely. Well, there you go. Hopefully I've got the ball rolling for you and we can get a few more of the girls in.
Damn, yeah. So if anyone's in Fremantle or actually anyone in general who wants to come on for a chat, talk to Phil and be like, is Matt a good guy?
Slip into the DMs for sure. Yeah.
Do you remember like a couple of times last year you'd be, I think you were physio for the game day for the girls at East Freo, and then I'll come and sit next to you and we would commentate the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
You would be the commentator that would have all the special, like the knowledge.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, the ball's going over the back. And then it would. Like you knew it before it even happened. And that might be my special comment was, she ran too far. Like just the basic, like just the.
I think I do that when I'm out on the field as well. I reckon as I'm out on the field, I commentate the game. Like if I watch someone, even if it's the opposition, I'll be like, oh, that's a nice tackle. Like I will 100%.
You're not meant to do that.
Yeah, I will 100%. Or I'm like, oh, that's a push in the back, and they didn't call it. Like I will 100% just commentate the game as I go.
Look, mate, it's been great to have you on. Finally able to get you on.
Yeah.
Can't thank you enough. I really appreciate your time. You're one of my favourite people, so really wish you all the best. So
thanks, Matt.
Thank you very much.
It's been awesome.
Thank you, everyone, for listening.